Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show where tonight we welcome a wonderful guest, a wonderful friend, and a true New Yorker at heart, the one, the only, Fever Dreamland Theater. What's going on, Anthony?
Hey, what's up, dude? How you doing? Let me turn this off here or anything. Ooh, okay, good. We're good. I am doing well. I had an echo thing going. I'm good. What's up, everybody? Grande, thank you very much. I am happy as hell to be here, and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, this is the last show of the year of 2023. It's been a really fun year with wonderful, colorful guests. I've had you on not once but twice. We had you on for season 4 this year, I believe that was this year, and then we did season 1, part 1, and then we actually ended up meeting in the city alongside Curly Girl. The three of us went for Joe's Pizza, saw Dawn of the Dead in the movie theater, and man, I'm proud and happy to call you a friend. So thank you so much for coming on tonight. If you guys haven't checked out Anthony's channel, I have linked it down below. Fever Dreamland Theater. He does awesome Twilight Zone reviews. And also, just recently, I believe just recently, you did the Spider Baby review, which is going to be up for everybody to see, I think, if it's not already. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's fantastic. That's an awesome movie, man. But yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm happy as heck to be here. And it's like 5 months later, but we're getting back to it. Part 2. I'm happy. This is gonna be great.
The body count continues tonight. We got a couple people in the chat. King Gore. Oh, yeah. Somebody's frosty. Happy Thursday, homies. Cheers. Cheers to you, Corey. Mateo is here. Ciao, Grande. Hope all is well. Belated Merry Christmas and early Happy New Year, Fever, and the whole chat. It's funny. My birthday was Saturday, and now Anthony's is Sunday. So, 8 days apart birthday, boys. So happy belated to me, and I guess happy future New Year and birthday to you, my friend.
Yes, and for those into horoscopes, Capricorns.
There you go, Capricorn, brother. I'm a Capricorn by like a day, but I'm a Capricorn.
Ah, okay.
We made it. We made it by a day. But yeah, no, if you weren't with us the last time, I could show you guys exactly where we left off. This was the first half of the Twilight Zone season 1. Where we talked about the first 18 episodes, of course, all the way from Where Is Everybody to The Last Flight. And this was a super fun show. So we kept this board up here. And tonight we're going to talk about the back 18, buddy. The back 18, episodes 19 to 36 of season 1 of the Twilight Zone. We'll be talking about all these episodes in depth, just like we did on the first show. So I'm super excited to have everybody in the house tonight. So everybody, cheers to a safe, happy, healthy, wonderful New Year and weekend. And we can kick this show off on the road. I believe, my friend, it was your turn for the plot synopsis. So the floor is yours, Mr. Fever from Dreamland Theater. What do you got for us?
All righty, right now I don't go live that often, so bear with me, everybody. But thank God I have Grande here to back me up. First episode we're going to be talking about is The Purple Testament. So this one, let's see, starred William Reynolds, and it's about a seasoned war veteran who unexpectedly acquired the eerie skill to recognize death in the faces of men about to die. We're starting off on a good note. I don't know how you feel about this one, but I'm a fan of this one. It's maybe my favorite of the war episodes, many of which were written by Rod Serling. I don't know. I'll see what you have to say about it. But I think overall, this was a pretty good one. I guess we'll get to the score a little bit later, right?
Sure. I would agree. I like this one. I mean, there's quite a few good war episodes, and I believe this was the first. I don't think we discussed a war episode in the first half of season 1. This was the first war episode Twilight Zone ever did, and they did quite a few quality good ones. Like, I really like a lot of the war episodes. I don't know. I guess for me, if I'm thinking about that, I wasn't thinking about it until you just said it. I like the Passersby a lot. I don't even know if that would be considered, but more like a sad, post note of the war. That one I really love. But this one here, I think, is a really interesting like precursor to something like a Final Destination in a way, where of course you have our lead, army guy, and if he looks at you, they have this interesting thing of direction and cinematography where I think it's George Clemens. He lights you as in, you're in the light, like don't go into the light. And he lights you that way. And then basically you are foreshadowed that these people are going to get killed off in the war and so on and so forth. Keep picking off one by one. These people are dying until ultimately, our lead is trying to warn people and everyone's saying he's crazy. I think this was an interesting concept. I definitely think this is something that's been expanded on more over the years. And dare I say it's been done better. But I think this is a good kickoff to, the second half of the season. But what do you think, man? What are some of your highlights for this one?
Okay, well, on that note, what you're saying about it did feel a little sort of straightforward because he has this power. We don't know why he has the power. It doesn't matter. That's fine. It's an interesting thing. But I feel like he does spend a good amount of the time trying to just convince people of it. And we don't quite go anywhere with it because nobody ever believes him. And I was curious if at some point would he try to sort of have a little more agency and try to actively change, things. Cause he's like, oh, I know so-and-so's going to die. We only really get that toward the end of the episode, I believe, with Dick York, who I'm used to seeing in comedy roles, but he's a lot more serious here. Right. Where he tells him, if you go out, you're not coming back. I don't know. I almost feel like I would have liked to have seen a little more of that. Whereas most of this is him just sort of dealing with this nightmare. And we don't we don't have a lot of time. That's always the thing with Twilight Zones. Right. So, but I mean, overall, it still works for me. And then even toward the end, would you say the ending of this is predictable?
Honestly, no. I didn't think it was predictable at all. Okay. And spoilers, guys, we will spoil these. They're only 60 plus years old. But I thought the ending was quite smart because no one's believing him. And then, of course, they're getting in the car and he looks in the mirror and, hey, buddy, we got a long ride ahead of us. And he's like, no, we don't. He knows that they're going to die off onto this drive, and they do shortly after. I thought that was kind of poetic. I kind of liked it. And I liked the whole idea that it's never explained why he can see the demise of these people before it happens. And it's similar, like I always look at this and think very much Final Destination. If 22, the episode 22 and this met and had a baby, it would be Final Destination in the year 2000. It just feels very much like that. And I thought it was done in a good way. Like I liked it. Of course, I'm trying to plead my case. Don't do it. Nobody wants to listen to him. And then of course they meet their untimely demise, or I guess their timely demise in the eyes of, his light, I guess. I liked it. I agree. It was weird to see Dick York in this playing a more serious role. I always consider him like a pre-Jim Carrey. Like he reminds me so much of Jim Carrey.
The face, right? It's all in the face. He had that bright, happy-go-lucky personality. Yeah.
Similar eyes, facial structure, like very much like a precursor to whoever Jim Carrey would go on to be. I like this one though. I would say it's like a solid B for me. Where would you rate this one?
I was putting it about there. Like I could probably be talked into an A, but like I'd say B. I would pretty much agree with it because it's perfectly fine for what it is. I feel like I wish it would have went a little deeper, but great performances. I like the mood. I guess we have a lot of stock footage in here, but it blends pretty well, right? I'd say it's fine. I'd say it was a pretty strong start for the season. And just real quick, I know we have to move on, but like Rod Serling, we know he had a history. He was a soldier. He saw some action, and he saw a lot of death, unfortunately. And I feel like we get the sense of that in this episode. It feels personal. It feels like something that freaking was probably, tough to write, but like he used to say, he had to get it out of his gut. So he did that through writing. And I think that that's present here in this episode, and it's present in a lot of the war episodes, which he also happened to write.
I would agree with that. I think you see a lot of authenticity in these war episodes that were done. And I think that, you look at at least two guys that come to mind in the film business or television business. Rod Serling comes to mind, and also Tom Savini. Like Tom Savini will tell you graphic stories of him finding people dead, and how he says that the jaw would always go slack and the eyes would never be closed, and how he would adapt these things that he saw in the real life war to the films that he worked on with the special makeup effects or direction or whatever. Rod Serling did that through his words, and Rod Serling really makes you feel the horrors of war in every single episode that he wrote or penned for the show, and having to deal with that dark subject. And this one's no exception. I mean, this one is dealing all with death. And
absolutely.
It is quite morbid. It is quite morbid. I think it's well done, though. I think it's a good idea. I don't think this idea had been done to death at this time. Like, dare I say, it's probably one of the first times this idea was done, and I thought he did a really good job with it. I'm not sure who directed this one. I could see...
This one was Richard L. Bear, who I think I have some nerdy trivia on that if you want real quick.
Yeah, please.
Apparently, Richard L. Bear and William Reynolds, on the day that this episode was supposed to air, a grain of salt, because this is coming from IMDb, but they're usually pretty reliable. On the day that this episode was supposed to air, Richard Albert, who directed this episode, crashed into the Caribbean Sea. He was just injured. He survived. They swam to land and they were rescued. And I believe the episode was rescheduled. So I didn't know that until today. I looked it up and I was like, okay, well that seems perfect for the graveyard. That's
creepy because that's basically the episode. You see the people, you see the light, they're gonna die. The night it's supposed to air, the director and actor almost die. What?
Apparently, yeah. So I mean, again, I'd have to confirm it. Maybe I'm curious of a couple other sources, but that's at least one bit I saw. So yeah,
if that is true, that is absolutely insanity, man. That is wow, that is crazy. But let's see what Slasher Fred has to say. Welcome, Slasher Fred. There was a story on the show Beyond Belief that is very similar called The Blind Man's Dog. That was about a dog who can also predict death. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I remember that show. That show was kind of fun. Mateo says maybe it has to do with the war times, maybe have been so much death that now he can see it in others. See, that's an interesting take on it. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I guess I never questioned as to why. I just was kind of intrigued with the episode and I liked how it was shot. I thought the director did quite a good job.
Yeah.
So now, okay, so we're both in agreement around a B for this one.
Yeah, I'd say
it's a solid start. And this next one, man, I know a lot of people hate this next one, but I have a very soft spot for it, and I quite love your background, which is making me think you're going to really like it too. So my hopes are up.
There we go.
Next one, it aired on February the 19th of 1960. This is season 1, episode 20. This is Elegy. 3 astronauts touch down on an asteroid where they discover a world of people that appear to be frozen in time. Confused, they theorize as to why everyone is motionless until a man springs to life and explains. Elegy, man, I got to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this one? What are your thoughts?
All right, so I guess I have some nostalgia goggles for this because this is an episode I caught it multiple times during the Twilight Zone review, during the Twilight Zone marathons. Growing up, I loved it then. I think I still love it now, man. To be honest with you, it's an interesting concept that it's explored pretty well. I do find myself looking at the people in the background and seeing like who's blinking, what's going on back there. But it's a strong little story. I'm a sucker for the stories where we have 3 astronauts. We always see 3 astronauts in this show. It's so many of the astronauts. We have 3 astronauts. They come down to this strange planet. I think we have 2 suns in the beginning. So I mean, I feel a little Star Wars-y just about that 2 sun thing. But right, it's right there. It's 2 suns, if I remember.
He goes, you don't see that on planet Earth, and it's just a shot of 2 suns. I burst out laughing on the rewatch.
There's just a lot of little fun moments in here. I love this. There's a reveal of the caretaker at one point where the guys are losing it. They're walking around. They're stressed out of their minds. They're like, what the heck is going on here? And everybody's frozen, of course, in time. They're not sure if, and I like that we're getting little theories, like maybe they're moving very slow and we're moving very fast. I love that they're theorizing, they're throwing out ideas, which pretty much means nothing that they're saying is going to be what it actually is. But I like that the people are speculating because that's what people would do. That's what we would do. We would be like, what the heck's going on? And you would have an idea. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So I like that it's a little grounded, like, because the people are speculating what the heck's going on. But the reveal of the caretaker, I believe it's in the beauty pageant sequence. Right. He just kind of turns around, looks at the camera. I can remember seeing it the first time. It kind of creeped me out. I'm like, okay, because you don't know yet on a first time viewing. It's like, is everybody like this guy, Nick? And like you don't know which way it's going. So I love that little reveal. It was kind of creepy. It spooked me out as a kid. Overall, I'm a geek for this episode. I mean, rating wise, we'll get there, but like, it's up there for me. I have it's just a lot of great moments. What are your thoughts on this one?
I would have to agree. I think it's fantastic. And I think what about it is so good to me is the direction from Douglas Hayes. Like, I think Douglas Hayes did such a good job. They made such a good call to have it be real people and not just like mannequins or statues or props, because it's real people just trying to stay still. Yeah. And you're right. If you watch and look closely, there are people moving, blinking, breathing. Like, if you watch it closely, you could see the kinks in the armor. But I thought at the same time, what ambition to do that. That's not going to be easy to film. That's not going to be, an easy time to do it. But they did a great job, I felt. And I felt also a great sense of unease in this episode.
Mhm.
There's the scene that you have up here where they say, "Hey, it's an old man fishing,"
Yeah,
and they
right.
go and, "Hey, Mister, we're so
Yeah.
glad to see you," and then he just kind of falls over. There's the
Yeah.
beauty pageant, which I thought was one of the most beautiful visual things of the entire episode, where it's this beauty pageant where all the good-looking girls are in the background, and the winner is this like kind of ugly duckling. And I
Yeah.
remember when I first watched this, I'm like, wait, what is going on? Like, is this
Yeah.
world, is beauty different in this world? We have a little bit of an Eye of the Beholder thing going on,
Yeah.
even before Eye of the Beholder. I was wondering what that was all about. And then, of course, when you get to the end, you figure it out. But yeah,
Yes.
no,
Yeah.
the goofy music in this absolutely adds to the horror. It's like,
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird. I know it is goofy, but it somehow made this episode even more chilling and
Mhm.
unsettling. And
Mhm.
when, Mr. Wickwire moves, I was like, oh shit, like what is going on? You have a wonderful hotel scene that he
Ah,
goes through. You go through like a keyhole and see this
yes.
couple dancing, the bottle of wine on ice. Just
There's a budget on this episode, man. There's like a ton of extras. There's a ton of scenes. They do it like I know it's like so you see the budget in later seasons where it's like oh we're holding up. This one it feels like they went all out with extras and scenes and backgrounds and it's a good looking episode. It
Yeah,
really is. There's a
it's
lot going on.
gorgeous. It feels
Yeah.
like you're right. It feels like they blew their budget on this episode, and like
Yeah.
it's so funny because everybody sort of hates this one. I kind of
Oh,
love it, and like I
yeah.
mean, I guess we can get to again spoilers. We will spoil these. The ending, which absolutely threw me as a kid, because
Mhm.
the Twilight Zone never got as mean spirited as this particular episode. I would go out on a limb to say this ending is as mean spirited as it
Yeah.
gets,
Yeah.
where you learn that the twist is that this is a graveyard called Happy Glades, and
Mhm.
that Mr. Wickwire is like an android that decides to give people their last wish. You're like, whatever your last wish is, he does it. So there's the guy running for mayor. He's the mayor. You have the girl who I'm assuming I
Yeah.
wanted to win the beauty
Yeah.
pageant. So she's in the beauty pageant. Like all of the things you've seen up to the episode make sense. The point where this is the last thing I'd want. I want to go fishing. I just want to go fishing. And he asked the astronauts, what would be the last thing you'd want to do? We'd want to be on the ship heading for home. And that's the last thing. He's literally dusting them off as if they're furniture. And they play that goofy music again. And then, of course, this guy sits. I don't know about you. What did you think of that ending? Because I was fucking floored in a good way.
Yeah, it's a gut punch of an ending in a way because you generally would like it would have been nice to see them escape, but I wouldn't have changed it. I like the ending. I do. It's dark. We go to a dark place.
Too
Would have been
dark, or do you think it was fitting for this show? I think it's
hmm,
really too dark for the show, but I liked it in a way.
okay. It almost felt a little like it almost felt a bit like well, just the fact that the caretaker isn't even human. Like we take things to another level here, where it seems like he's this I don't know if he's an android and he goes on and off and he's just been activated again. The fact that he's just sort of goes ahead and poisons them, that is dark. It doesn't it feels, is it a bit of a left turn or a sharp turn? I don't know.
I was shocked. I didn't
Yeah.
expect them to get poisoned. Like, he poisons their milk, and then, "I told you it was no good, I told you!" Like, the one astronaut that's really over the top throws the glass, and
And and now I'm thinking about it, it makes sense because he drinks it at one point, and sure, he could have his glass could have been clean, clean or whatever, it didn't have poison in it. But I think that he just drank it because he's not even human. It doesn't matter.
yeah, they
So
say
he's
he's
just
an
thinking about
android, and then, like, they ask him, they're like, "Why? We meant you no harm," and he says, "I know that now, but you are men, and where there are men, there could be no peace." I was
yeah,
like,
that's
"Whoa," like, that doesn't feel Twilight Zone to me, but it's so dark that it kinda I was like, I'm intrigued by this, like,
yeah.
and this was not a Serling written episode, I don't believe. This was
This
written
was Beaumont.
Beaumont. Okay, this
Yeah,
was Beaumont.
he
I
was
thought
dark.
Beaumont did a great job with this script,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Um,
Um, yeah. So yeah, no, yeah. Beaumont, you're right. He had a lot of dark ones. It's a dark ending, but well, maybe it feels even more dark because, like you said, there's goofy music throughout, and we don't know which way it's gonna go.
Yeah, dusting dead bodies off, in the spaceship while playing that goofy music, and then he just kind of
Yeah,
sits in the and crosses his legs, and I thought the whole motivation for the villain was really interesting too. Like, here's this villain that believes he's doing the right thing.
yeah,
I'm giving you your last wish. You are
yeah,
gonna, live happily ever after, but at the same time, he's also killing you because he believes where there is men, there cannot be peace. So it's like a whole, maybe a Thanos thing going on where, at the snap of my fingers, I'll wipe out 50%. Good things will happen from it, but also 50% of the population is gone. So I felt like it was that kind of villain where he believes in his heart that he's doing the right thing, but at the same time, it's just so evil and dark and twisted at the same time. But I love this one. I really, I don't know. I wonder why it gets so hated, man. I really do.
Until you said it, I didn't even know it was a hated episode. But you're right. That message at the end, it's cynical, I guess you could say, right? Where there's men, there could be no peace. But I mean, like if you look at the world right now, or hell, if you looked at the world 20 years ago, or God forbid, 100 years ago, that does always seem to be the case.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't. Usually, this show is warm, even in its darker endings. It's a little bit warmer.
Yeah,
but I thought that ending was cold. I was like, that's cold. Like, wow. And I thought
cold,
in a good way.
But with goofy music.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, he just poisoned these people. But okay, Anthony, what is your grade for Elegy?
I'm gonna go with an A for the poison. I'm gonna go an A for the poisoning.
I am right there with you. I'm going a very strong A. I think this is a good one myself, so I'm all there with you. King Gore says, I'll say I'm close to getting sucked into the Twilight Zone. Once I start, there's no turning back. The writing is so engrossing. Man, it's the best show ever for my money. I'm pretty sure Anthony would agree with me on that.
Oh, absolutely. And I would love to hear his thoughts on it. If he gets a chance to get into it and dives into a few episodes, that would be awesome. And I'd love to hear his thoughts on it.
So would I. I think that would be really cool for him to cover like a season. I love the character's quote, "What's the matter with everyone in this crazy place?" That actor was so fun and over the top. Like, he's like, you don't know where, he's like, that's great. We don't know where we are. Like, that guy was so into his role, man. I loved it. Sean Blue is in the house. This is the last few days of Sean Blue being Sean Blue. He's going over the channel name change very soon. So shout out to Sean. Hope all is well with you people saying hi. And all right, man, we can move on to the next episode. This one's sort of famous and for good damn reason, because I just love this next one. But what do you got coming up next?
All right, so this one's for the Psycho fans. We have Vera Miles in Mirror Image. All right, Millicent Barnes. Let's see. While waiting in a bus terminal, Millicent Barnes has the strange sensation that her doppelganger is trying to take over her life. That's a bit of a rough description, but yeah, she spots a duplicate of herself on a bus and in a mirror. Famously, we explore a lot of, like, is she crazy? Is this happening or is it not happening? I'm a huge fan of this episode. I absolutely love it. I hope you feel the same way, but we'll see. The entire episode has an old school Hitchcock horror feel to it.
Yes.
The atmosphere is just grim. It's dark. I love it. There is one slightly goofy moment. I'll get, we'll mention it. I'm sure you might even know what I'm talking about. But overall, this is good. And I should say there's two kind of goofy moments, because the very tail end of the episode has a bit of a weird moment. But overall, I'm a big fan of this episode. Vera Miles was great in this. Everybody was great. Very few complaints about this one overall. What about you?
I honestly don't have any complaints either. I think you hit the nail on the head saying it's very Hitchcocky. And I mean, right off the bat, you do have Vera Miles, which, and this is in 1960. So very crazy. This and Psycho come out the same year. And I thought this was just brilliant because, okay, the last episode we were talking about Elegy, all the set pieces, all the extras. This one, I feel like they really micromanage the budget. It really feels smaller. We're in a bus terminal from the beginning to the end. We have maybe 4 or 5 people we see the entire episode. Although I know people would argue, well, her doppelganger is another one, but whatever, same thing. I love the horror sequences in this. Like, to me, when people say, "Oh, Twilight Zone sci-fi," like, it is sci-fi, but it is also horror. And to me, the past 2 episodes, Elegy and this, exclusively, I mean, absolute straight up horror 101. This one very much more a thrilling kind of making you think, what if I had the doppelganger? What if there
Mhm.
was a darker half of myself? And we watch this woman kind of slowly but surely descend into madness, trying to convince herself that she is the only one when maybe, just maybe, there is a double of her. And I love the way this was done, where she argues with the guy at the desk, and that's not my bag. He's like, yeah, it is. You already checked that bag in. And she goes into the bathroom, and oh, hey, you were just in here. What the heck? And she's like, no, I wasn't. Like, it's a lot of arguing. No, no, no. And then you open the door, you get that wonderful shot of her sitting at the bench watching as she opens the door of the
Yeah.
bathroom. That just made, oh my God, just
Iconic, that shot. It's
yeah.
iconic. If you hit Google and mirror image Twilight Zone, that's the image you get pretty much, you know?
Yes, and I thought it was just so well done and such a good idea and something that's been done again and again and again. And I know Slasher Fred said right here, I think this episode was
Yeah.
that what inspired Jordan Peele for Us. Yeah, it absolutely was. I think he admitted it, that this episode
Yeah.
was one of his favorites, and he wanted to, make a feature length movie of this type of idea. And it's been done a lot, doppelganging and horror. That's fantastic. And I thought it was just perfectly done here. Now, Vera Miles, a good leading lady, of course, a Hitchcock regular. And then, of course, she meets this one man, and he's trying to convince her that, there is no such thing. There is no such thing. You have a great sequence where she goes to get on a bus, and the doppelganger's on the bus, and you see her in the window. Just very creepy and well
Yeah.
done, man.
I
What
love the
did you think?
music cues in those moments too. There's a certain music cue that it's repeated, but it works. Hey, did you trust the guy on a first time watch, or did he feel a little off to you? Just like I know on like repeated watches, you kind of know the man who she meets in the
I
bus
don't
terminal.
know. I wouldn't say I suspected him. Why? Did you find him
Okay.
suspicious?
Yeah, I found him to be a little bit suspicious, but then of course toward the end, it's revealed no, he really was sort of trying to help. Although I don't know that you could say he did, considering where the story goes.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and like, what did you think of the, like, dark, stormy night quality and setting for this in this bus? Because I know it's mainly inside in the bus station, but, like, did you think the dark, stormy night added to this? Because I totally did.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I guess you could argue about it being cliche, but sometimes cliches work. Fuck it. It absolutely works here. It's such a it's such a claustrophobic little grim setting. It just feels like something's about to go wrong. So it absolutely works. Yeah, it totally works for me. It's a dark and stormy night. You can't go wrong with that, especially in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I'd agree. I thought this one really worked, and I thought that it was the most Hitchcockian of the
Mhm.
first season. And I just thought it was so funny. It comes out the same year as pretty much the most infamous Hitchcock movie, starring someone who was in that movie. That was so weird and wild.
Yeah,
And I do
yeah,
like the idea of the psychology of making you think that, okay, could I have another half? Could I have this
yeah.
doppelganger? And I love at the end that twist where I didn't see it coming, where he's running out and he thinks he sees his other half. And, like, granted, that shot doesn't age the greatest.
That's the one thing I
Yeah.
was referring to. It looks a little, could use a little work, but overall, I get what they were going for. So who cares?
Yeah, and the way he's running, I'm like, God damn it, like, what the hell? Like, this could have been done a little bit better. But I guess,
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
they might have just cut budget. I really feel like this is one that had a lower budget
yeah.
and had to rely on the creativity and the story and the psychology a little bit more. And I thought it really, really worked. I think this
Mhm.
is a fantastic episode. I would personally say S for me, but where would you rank this one, man?
This one would go S for me as well.
Okay, so we're right on the same
Solid S.
page.
Yeah.
3 episodes in.
They even
Oops,
had it
it's not
correct.
a C. It is an S. We have so far, we have so many S's that we literally haven't have another column here. So that
One of the
is
other moments in this that I just wanted to mention too was when the police come.
oh, go
It
ahead. Yeah.
feels so abrupt. She gets the police call, and I was like, "Oh, we have a woman, and we think she's losing her mind." They show up, and to me, it always feels so abrupt. She's just like, "Boom, get in the car, let's go by." It's just like, is that all it takes? So that's one moment that always kind of got to me. Where it just felt a bit abrupt, the way Vera Miles' character is just sort of quickly hauled away. I don't know if there's any question, no questions asked. Goodbye. Would you agree or
Yeah,
would
no, I
bother
agree.
you,
I
not
don't know.
bother you, or
I don't know. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, no, you're right. It
okay?
definitely is rather abrupt. So I don't know.
Well, I
I
mean,
just, maybe I'm just such a sucker for this. Like, to me, if you want to, like, go to the school of horror or learn how to, like, make
mhm,
horror work, I think this is something that should be studied. Like,
yeah,
I just love how this is done from a filmmaking
yeah,
standpoint, a psychology. I think this one has just such a great psychology, and, like, there's really no moral here. There's just, it's really straight up for entertainment. You know, Twilight
Yeah.
Zone, a lot of times it was trying to teach you a lesson or show you a moral. This one's straight up just entertaining. Like I look at this a lot like I look at The Hitchhiker,
Yeah.
where again, there's not really much of a moral. It's just kind of
Yeah.
entertaining horror done right. And
Yeah.
it's really well acted and directed,
Yeah.
and the psychology is there. So to me, it
Yeah.
just kind of comes full circle for a perfect S tier episode,
Yeah,
which I mean, I just
absolutely.
thought was fantastic.
Even as you noted, yeah, it's exploring like the darker half. Do we have another darker half? It's at least it's doing that. It's which is like you said, it's something horror has returned back and forth to over the years in so many movies. Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Yeah, I do too. So we're gonna put that right at the S tier slot. We're moving that row over now. So we got some quality stuff here. Oh, dude, first time watching season 1, Corey, that would be awesome, man. I think you'd really, really enjoy this show. This is a good discussion. Thank you so much, Corey. I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
This next one, Anthony. This next one, I think you're gonna hate me. I really do, because
This is it.
This is it. This is it.
Oh,
The next
boy.
episode here is one of the most infamous. It is arguably the most infamous Twilight Zone, the most remembered Twilight Zone, and one of the most beloved Twilight Zones. And I can't lie to you guys, I have a very unpopular opinion on it, but we'll get into it. We'll discuss it. I'm very interested to hear Anthony's thoughts. This debuted on Friday, March the 4th of the year 1960. This is season 1, episode 22. This is The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. On a peaceful suburban street, strange occurrences and mysterious people stroke the residents' paranoia to a disastrous intensity. The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. I can't lie, man. I think this one's so overrated. I'd never really liked this one. And I know it's unpopular, but please, I want to hear your praise, and then I'll go because, man, tell me about this one. This is one of the most infamous ones. So please, gush all you'd like.
I almost want to go into salesman mode now and convince you.
Sell it to me. Go ahead.
I mean, it's the whole thing with McCarthyism, and come on, man. No, but let me just okay. Wow, I'm a little surprised.
Let me ask, did you think it was going to be this one, or did you think it was going to be another one?
Well, I was expecting it to maybe be one of the bigger ones, so it makes sense that it was this one that you're not a fan of. I almost want to ask though, before we get into it too much, are you a fan of The Shelter?
I like The Shelter way more.
Okay, all right, and hardcore fans of the show will know why I'm even comparing them, because it's a very similar story. That's all.
Sure,
no big
absolutely.
Secret. All right. Yeah, I mean, so for me, the reason why it works, I'll just start with that. I like the messages that are in here. Are they a little bit forced? I don't know. Maybe I don't know if that's your problem with it per se, but I feel like it's a dark episode. It has a lot to say. There's a message in here, but I'm liking the performances. I'm liking the vibe of the whole episode. I'm liking where it goes. The twist at the end. I feel like it's earned when we pull away that shot of these once a few hours earlier. We had this whole community who were together. They were united. They were barbecuing, they're eating ice cream, and everything's all hunky dory. Everything's fine. And now we pull away, and they're literally tearing each other apart. Did we need the reveal of that it was aliens that were pulling the strings a little bit? I don't know. You could argue that, but I just love that we pull away as this once happy community descends into complete chaos. They were all neighbors, but there was always this shit under the surface. It bubbles up, and it doesn't take very much for it to happen. I feel like this message here, there's a message in here about how, and I don't think I'm saying it too well, but there's a message in here about how just under the surface, it almost feels like we're all animals. And if we can just sort of control that and not be so suspicious and so quick to make judgments, then that's a good thing, and then we're less likely to completely tear each other apart. I think that's a powerful message, and I think it completely resonates as much now as I assume it did way back then, because like you said, this is a very, it's not a favorite episode for you, but I mean, as I recall, it's an episode that like teachers and professors, they requested scripts of this so that kids could act it out and stuff. I know we did it when I was in school, and I was like one of the lead characters. So it was, to me, it's one of the more important episodes of the series. Shout out to Terrence too, because I know this is one of his favorite episodes. So you guys are gonna have to duke it out when when he finds out about what you.
I'm gonna get a voice message. Grande,
Well,
what
I'm
are you
curious to see what,
smoking?
even if you're not a fan of it, I'm obviously I'm gonna go S. So I am curious if you. I don't think you're gonna go F on it. But I am curious where you're gonna land on it.
Fair
I'm
enough. And
curious.
I
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
I
So.
know I'm in the minority on this. Like I know that it was taught in English classes and it was,
Mhm,
it has this big reputation. And I get it. I think I get why it's blown up in popular culture and
mhm,
one of the more remembered episodes of the series. You're right. This is definitely, if you say Maple Street, everyone knows what you're talking about. It's on that, Time Enough at Last. It's on that Eye of the
yeah,
Beholder. It's on that To Serve Man. It's on that memorability list where if you mention the Twilight Zone, it's definitely in the top 5 of ones people remember. If you
mhm,
say Maple Street, bam, they know what you're talking about. It's just like in horror, you mention Elm Street, everyone knows what you're talking about, right? You don't have to say anything else. You don't have to
mhm,
mention a Freddy Krueger or a top hat or a striped sweater. You just know. It's just part of Americana. And I think that's why it resonates for so many people, is because the whole idea of it is Americana. It's
mhm.
Americana meeting horror, right? It's Maple Street. It's a happy summer day. We got kids running through the sprinklers. The ice cream man's rolling up. Everybody's buddy and happy. And then, of course, these weird occurrences start happening. And, slowly but surely, things start to snowball out of control. I really like Claude Atkins. I love
Mhm,
the actor and I love him in The Little People. I think that's a better episode than this.
mhm.
I feel like it's just too over the top. I
Hmm.
never cared for most of the performances. The guy playing the son is so bad. He basically reminds me of like Leave It to Beaver. He's like, "Well, father, in my show, there might have been aliens. That's what I read about in school." And like
Yeah.
that kid was terrible. And also I don't know his name, but the heavyset neighbor. I thought
Okay.
that actor was, yeah, he was awful. Like he's
Was
like,
this okay? Let me see. Was it the actor who was in Dirty Dancing?
oh, geez. I don't here. Let me click on it. I'll tell you in 2 seconds who it was. I can't think of his damn name off the top of my head. I think it's Jack Weston.
Jack Weston as Charlie. Is that who you're talking about?
Yes, that is what I'm talking
Okay,
about.
Jack. See, I okay. So then, okay. I thought he was pretty good there as just sort of like as that mistrustful guy who's so quick to point the finger. So you thought he was over the top though.
I did, and I thought, and I know you mentioned The Shelter. I felt Jack Albertson was much more natural,
Mm.
and with a better
Oh.
performance in that. I felt like the performances in The Shelter are way more grounded and way
Mhm,
dialed back to
mhm.
realism, because I liked that episode better because okay, it's opening up, we're having a slice of cake. Hey,
Yes.
buddy, can I pour you a drink? Just a few hours later, he's punching him in the face and saying all this horrible racial slur at him,
Yeah.
and it just automatically
Yeah.
becomes tension. I thought that was much more done and
Yeah.
much more realistic. This, I just felt it went too stupid.
Okay.
Like, okay, we have the neighbor
Yeah.
walking up. Oh God, shoot him. Like what? Like, I know
Well.
that paranoia can be horrific and I get the point, but
Yeah.
nobody would go to the extent of shoot him right away while you can't even see who the hell it is. I thought
The
that was weird. And I always felt that oh, so and so was always an oddball. Why was his car not starting before and it's starting now? Like, I always thought that was just kind of like, what? Like,
little
I know
weird, little on
people
the
are
nose for you.
stupid. People are stupid, but they're not this stupid.
The
I just
Shelter
don't.
did. I look. I'm with you on the Shelter being the better episode, even though they both be S tier for me. I don't know. They would both be S tier for me at least. However,
Shelter's S
I would.
tier.
Yeah, but I would take Shelter over this. I don't even know if that's an unpopular opinion,
It
but
is.
yeah, obviously I'm liking this episode a whole lot more than you. But everything I mentioned earlier about like how all of that shit that's under the surface with humanity, the Shelter does it a lot better. Maybe because it's more subtle. I don't know. It's a little more mature in the approach. Maybe because it feels more intimate and personal. Whereas this is this spread out community, so we don't get a chance to spend a lot of time with everybody. It moves at a breakneck speed. There's a bit of a pacing thing here where it goes maybe so fast that it just feels like we have to hit those beats to get to this ending. It works for me, but I could see the issues that people,
Oh, it
and maybe
works.
I'm wondering if that's because like you're saying, it's just like everybody just everything's shoved to the max. This episode's going at like 110.
Yeah, I
It's
felt.
dialed up. Everything's dialed up throughout. I don't know. So that I can see that's a problem. I don't know. To me, it's maybe it's because I've seen it so many times. Maybe it's the old nostalgia goggles, But I'm curious if anybody in the chat is with you on this one or not.
I don't know. I doubt it. I've never heard anybody else feel that way about it than me. Like
okay.
I
Oh,
always kind of was like, yeah, like of all the ones that's beloved, this is the one I would point to and say overrated. Like I really feel that way. Like I love Eye of the Beholder. I love, Time Enough at Last. I love To Serve Man. Like there's so many of them I absolutely love, but this one I just don't get the hype. I really don't.
okay.
I just felt I think The Shelter again is just so much more better. And even the ending, where the ending of The Shelter is, it's just a satellite, and then hey, we'll throw a big party to celebrate. And we were spared a bomb tonight, but I wonder if we weren't destroyed even without it. To me, that's how you end that. You go up and you see the chaos that ensued over the cake and friends that was just happening hours before. This, I just feel it's just so goofy. And then it's the aliens will go to the next Maple Street, and then the next one, and then the next one. I'm like, all right, I don't know. It definitely struck a nerve in mainstream society, and I'm alone in this.
And the influences with, like I was talking about McCarthyism and the Red Scare and all of that. That's obviously ingredients in here. But for you, is it working at least as like it's entertaining? Just curious, or it's not even.
I think it's.
I guess we'll see when you rate it.
I don't know. I think it's rather laughable. Like I'm kind of just sitting there. I'm like, there's no way that this is how this would go down. Like I really do think it would go down bad, but I don't think it's dialed up too high. It's like dialed up to 15, where The Shelter dials it back to like 5 and finds that perfect happy medium. And I felt like everything was much more natural. Whereas this, I don't know. But again, I'm in the minority with this. Nobody really remembers The Shelter. The Shelter's not mentioned alongside those other ones that are for memorability, I guess. I know it's a beloved episode too, but I don't know.
You'll only see it like when you get into the hardcore fandom like us. It'll be like Shelter, Monsters on Maple Street. We'll mention it, but yeah, you're right. Generally speaking, it's like The Shelter. Which one is? Oh yeah, that thing. It was a Simpsons parody, wasn't it? Yes, people will remember that it was a Simpsons parody before that it was a Twilight Zone. All right, well, fair enough. So where did you land on this in terms of the grade?
You're going to hate me. I came in with a D.
Oh my God. All right. So we'll have to balance it out. What's between an S and a D?
Do you have it as an S?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to be right in the middle at a B. So
which
I'm sure that's the lowest this has ever been ranked on any list, but you got S 1, 2, I got D 1, 2. It's right in the middle of the B. Let's see what the chat has to say. Let's see what you guys think. Let's see. If you ever watched Forrest Whitaker series, there was a remake which deals not with the fear of aliens, but with the fear of terrorism. Have you seen that?
9/11. Yeah, that was post 9/11. I've seen that one. It's okay. It's all right. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost curious to hear your thoughts on that one. If you've seen it, or if you get a chance to watch it or rewatch it.
I haven't had a chance, to be perfectly honest, but I should. I definitely would be interested to see, because
it might still be on Tubi. Those 2000s Twilight Zone, it might still be on there for free to watch.
Okay, very interesting. We got Mernzy's Movie Mansion saying, "Hey, what's up? Hey guys, Mernsy, hope all is well with you, buddy." Let's see.
The critter.
Let's see. Yeah, gotta love the critter. I think this episode was a reference to what was happening in America during the civil rights movement, because it deals with that your neighbor could be an alien. Which, I definitely think this struck a nerve at the time. It really did. So, Brian is here. Hey, Grande. Hey, Fever Dreamland Theater. Brian, doing good. Let's see. Freddie wore a fedora top hat, were usually worn in Hollywood by the 1930s by those singers like Fred Astaire. Jerry Orbach. No, but I love Jerry Orbach. Law and Order and Dirty Dancing. Oh my God. Okay. Brian is in the house. Let's see. John Steele is here. Steele. Hands down the best series to grace the airwaves period. I agree. I think it's the best show of all time, man. Jack Weston was also in one of the very classic 1960s live action animated musicals, Incredible Mr. Limpet. Okay. Brian says his favorite TV show as well. Brian says, I like Maple Street. I think it might be showing the Cold War phenomenon, but I think you could apply it to what's happening in the world right now. Okay. Corey, I wanted to talk with you about The Thing when you can. Well, Grande, you're wrong. I'm just kidding. Check your Van Lab Steel. Okay, so I definitely know I'm in the minority with this one, so I apologize for Maple Street.
No, and speaking of Jack Weston, he was in The Bard as well, right? So
yes, he's the lead in
The Bard. 2 for 2 for you, because it's like you're not a fan of that one.
The Bard is an F. The Bard is an F. This I do think is the most overrated episode of the show, though. I will go out on a limb and say that. Like, of all the ones that get the praise, this is I would be on the bottom for me.
Okay, all right.
But unpopular, I know. But I promise
okay, dude.
I don't have any other unpopular
No,
opinions.
but you've explained it completely well. Like, and I even take your point on a lot of that stuff that you mentioned. So
Thank you,
it
my
is what it
friend.
is, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, no. See, civil debates, people. These are nice. You don't have to, shoot me in the dark. When is that Grande? Shoot him. That he was always a weirdo.
Hold on, wait. Where's the button to cancel you? Which one?
I get canceled on my own show. That would stink.
All right.
Grande's Graveyard, you are obsolete.
You are obsolete. Yeah. All right. So, do you want to go on to the next one?
Yes, sir. Your description here, buddy.
That's me, right? Okay. It looks like a world of difference.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. Let's see what we have. A world of difference. A businessman inexplicably finds that he is on a production set and in a world where he's a movie star. His real life is seemingly a living hell, in which he's in the middle of an ugly breakup, and he also struggles with alcohol abuse. That's pretty much all I have for the description, but I think it's more than enough to sort of get us started. Sure. I was a fan of. Now, this is an episode I'm actually not too familiar with, but I liked it. I did a rewatch the other night, and I was like, "Oh wow!" Do you ever find it fun when there's an episode maybe you've only seen once or maybe years back, and then you rewatch it and you're like, "Hey, this is a new kind of." I don't know if I would say a new favorite, but it's definitely a solid one. For starters, I like the concept. It feels it's disturbing. It's because if you put yourself in this guy's shoes, you have a guy who sort of comes. It feels like he's in a world that he doesn't want to be. And it feels like like he escapes to another world. That's sort of a thing that we see in a better episode later with Willoughby. So that idea is thrown around in Twilight Zone a lot. But here it's approached in like a pretty unique way. I like it. I like the performances. The wife here is a bit of your cliche Twilight Zone evil wife, which may be a problem for some people. It wasn't a problem for me.
I don't mean to cut you off. Do you know who that actress is?
I could no. I mean, let's see.
That is Sean Penn's mom.
Hey, all right. Well, she does really well here.
She got those big eyes. I was like, Sean Penn's fucking mom, Spicoli.
Wow, I love that trivia.
Isn't that cool?
His manager is pretty good in this, and he looks familiar, but I'm not sure what else he was in. The guy who plays his agent. I'm sorry,
he was in. I Sing the Body Electric, right? As the dad.
Okay, maybe that's where I'm recognizing him from. But I pretty much like this episode overall. I like that it feels like your standard Twilight Zone where you have one guy. He's pretty much alone. He's going through a confusing nightmare. What's real here? What's not? Is he going crazy? Is he not going crazy? And I sort of like where it goes toward the end, where it feels like he gets his escape. I feel like he's earned it. I don't know. Maybe he hasn't. Not if you're his wife. She seems to despise his entire existence. But the vibe that I get from it, like when I sit back and I'm like, okay, so what the hell did I just watch? It felt like I felt like his real world was what we saw, where like he was married to this woman. It was a horrible marriage. He wasn't happy. He was an alcoholic, and he just liked the character that he played on TV a lot more. And the Twilight Zone gave him the ability to just escape into that world. That's how I took it. Although I'm curious if you take it a different way, if you like it or not. But what do you think, man?
It's never really said. I think that's the beauty of the ending. It's really never said. I think it's totally up to your interpretation. I really like this one. I love how this was opened, where it's, he's talking with his secretary, who she was in The Self-Improvement of Salvador Ross. I think her name is Gail Cobe. She's a beautiful lady. That should be everyone's secretary. That lady's beautiful. And he goes into the office and then cut. You can't dial a number. The actor's face, he's just like, what the hell is going on?
It's a haunting moment, isn't it?
Yeah. And I love how he looks out the window and it's a beautiful sunny day. And then when he looks, it's just people sitting on a studio with lights. I was like, oh man, that is really cool. And I was thinking this one has to be George Clemens is the cinematographer. This is one of the only episodes, I believe the only episode he did not shoot of the first season. This was also directed by Ted Post, who would go on to do a few episodes of season 5 and a lot of the Planet of the Apes sequels, whether it be Battle of the Planet of the Apes or Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Ted Post, a really good filmmaker. Apparently, there's some behind-the-scenes stuff where he and George Clemens hated each other And
Oh,
George
wow.
Clemens was on vacation this week, and they called Ted Post and were like, "Hey, he's on vacation. You don't have to work with him. Come in." And I thought the
I
cinematography
love
was
it.
really well done. I was like, God
Yeah.
damn it, I never would have known they replaced George Clemens for this 1 week. He was on vacation and brought in Ted Post. This is the only episode he directed of the first season, which I thought was absolutely hysterical.
Yeah.
We
It
would
looks
go
like it
on to
was a
see
Richard Matheson episode too.
yes. This
Ah.
this is a Matheson, that's right. And
Yeah.
I thought it was really well written, really well acted. I liked the whole idea of, is this man, the Hollywood star struggling with alcoholism, or is this just, an every regular day Joe Blow who works in an office who just wants to escape and have nice alone time with his wife? Who is this man? I'm Arthur Curtis. No, you're not, and then they talk to him, try to tell him that he's Gerald, whatever. And, you have these clashes and arguments and him trying to convince them that he is one person. And I think there's a lot of interesting things for either argument, whether you're with him being this actor that's struggling with alcoholism, or if you believe he's this everyday Joe Blow in the office. I think there's interesting things where he's trying to call home in the beginning, and he knows the number and it's dead. But then later in the episode, he's trying to call and he forgets the number. You're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Like, if you're really who you say you are, you forgot your house phone number an hour later. Like, that sounds like something that the alcoholism might have taken over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, he seems so genuinely convinced and wanting to get back home and can describe his wife and child in such, I guess, expressive detail that I want to believe him. I don't know. Did you want to believe him? Did you believe him?
That's where I lean toward. Yeah. At one point he spots a little girl out on the street, and he like a maniac, he runs up and grabs her, and she's like, get off me. So yeah, I feel like I believe him. I lean toward that, and even like as we're talking, I'm feeling like this is a nice companion piece to, is it 16mm Shrine? I feel like we're covering some of the same ground, but in a very different way. We had a woman, an older Hollywood actress who wants to escape, and now here we have again we have Hollywood. That whole idea of Hollywood and this whole, they don't really portray Hollywood very well in it. I noticed that in Twilight Zone. It always seems like a very bitter, nasty, unpleasant business.
Well, I mean, they're probably right on the ball with that. And I feel like this one also would be a little bit similar to Person or Persons Unknown from season 3, which is with, Richard Long, I think the actor's name is, where he wakes up and I'm David Gurney, and nobody knows.
That's another close one.
This one very similar to that, but this one I think is very interesting because you really don't get an answer. You really are left with, and Slasher Fred says it right here. This episode is very confusing because we don't know which the ending is real. Did Arthur Curtis get to, go off with his wife, or was that him just imagining it with the character? And I think it's really up to you as a viewer. I personally believe he was Arthur Curtis and somehow got transformed into this world. But again, I'm naive. I don't know. Maybe he was just a struggling alcoholic that fell asleep and dreamed that he got on the plane with his wife at the end. I don't know. And also, here's this thing. You see that his secretary is an actress at the opening scene. Like, you see she's backing up when he's like, I'm Arthur Curtis. Like, he's trying to explain to them. You see she's in the shot and she's like, what the fuck is wrong with him? You also see her at the end of the episode being like, have a nice trip, guys. Fly safe. So is she an actress? Is she a part of his real reality that he claims to exist?
She's the only one that she's the only one throughout the episode that's in both his, his idea of reality. Okay. All
That's
right.
right.
Okay. Wow.
To me, that's the ultimate curveball, is the secretary, because you see her as an actress thinking he's crazy, and then by the end she's totally no-selling, being like, have a great time.
Yeah.
And his wife seems to know him. So I don't know. I mean, it would be one thing if he went up to her, she's like, who are you? Then it's like, okay, clearly he's crazy. But I don't know. I like to think, I don't know. I'd like to give my man the benefit of the doubt. But maybe he was,
yeah, same. I felt for the guy. Let's see, who was the actor in that? I think this might have been his only Twilight Zone, the lead here, right?
I believe this was his only Twilight Zone. This is Howard Duff as
Howard
the lead.
Duff, yeah. I thought he was pretty good here, and everybody else. I also wonder, like, when we pull away and we see the production, everybody's just looking at him, like we see the cameras and the lights and that crew. I'm assuming that's probably the crew from who shot the Twilight Zone show, and do they literally just reverse the camera, or is that all actors? I'd have to look it up to see, but I'm curious about that, like, because it feels like an episode where it's like, hey, just move the camera over and there's our or Hollywood, you know.
Imagine if it was Ted Post and then George Clemens watches like, you sons of bitches, the week I was on vacation, you hired this guy. That would have been the ultimate rib on George Clemens. Like, the one episode I didn't shoot, you son of a bitches put the director in the episode. Like, I think that would have been, if that's the case, I don't think so. But oh my God, that would be the most greatest thing ever. Of like, okay, let's see the one they shot without me. Son of a bitch. Like, that would be amazing. I don't know. I also would say this probably inspired the Truman Show in some ways.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's the similarities are pretty much there. Yeah.
Yeah, I got Truman Show vibes from this one. Steele says he gives this a C. I definitely think we're both higher than that. Where would you go?
Yeah, I mean, I could go A. Yeah, I think that maybe that's a little generous, but I liked it. I really don't have a lot of problems with this one. Well, I'm curious. What about you? What do you think?
I would say A right there with you. I think if it's on its worst day, it's a B plus. So I'm going with an A minus. I think it's a good episode. I rewatched it last night. I agree. This is not one I watch a lot.
Yeah,
for what it's worth, I haven't seen it a ton, but I thought upon a rewatch, I was like, this is really solid. I think it's really well acted. It's a good idea. It's not a concrete ending.
Mm-hmm.
It made me think. I don't know. I thought this one was damn good, but.
Yeah, and another thing too is like, you know how some episodes you could point to some slight issues or problems, which sometimes you'll give a pass and sometimes you won't. You'll be like, nah, this took it down. I'm not even seeing too much in this episode where I can even bring it up, you know, like nitpicks or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with this either. I mean, maybe there are some people that probably are going to want a more concrete ending, but I kind of like that they make the argument for either way, and then you have to kind of fill in the blanks. Like, to me, that secretary is the ultimate curveball because she's in both reality and fiction, whichever one is which. I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Like, what is her? Is she the mastermind somehow? Like, I don't know. I thought that was really cool. So I don't know. I really like this one. Mateo says alcoholism in the 60s, I think, was called everyday life. Okay. Miss C is here. Ciao, Grande. I'm late. Damn holiday during season this week. I forgot today's Thursday. No problem, Miss C. Hope all's well with you. Ciao, Miss C. Good, no problem. Yeah, absolutely. No, good to see you in the house. But all right, it's my turn here. Next episode up. Oh boy. This is season 1, episode 24 that aired Friday, March the 18th of 1960. This is Long Live Walter Jameson. A father forbids a history professor from marrying his daughter when he discovers that the captivating lecturer is actually an immortal who has lived for thousands of years. I'll give you my thoughts on this one. This one fucking sucks, in my opinion. I don't like this episode at all. I really don't. What do you think?
Okay. Well, we're not gonna have like a Monsters on Maple Street sort of separation on this one, but I do like it. I'm not gonna go to bat to it as much, but for it. But I did like this one. So all right. So here's what I did like about it. I guess it's a strong concept of this guy who's basically immortal. I like that we don't exactly know why he's immortal. We get a little bit. I think he says he met an alchemist. We get a little bit of the history about it. It's like, okay, and we don't get a lot. I didn't need that. I like that this episode deals with the prospect of aging. I like that this episode has a great conversation right smack in the middle of it that I found myself glued to between the older man who's the father of the girls he's gonna marry, and this guy, and they're just talking about the whole idea of getting older and eventually dying, and why that can be a good thing, even though we may be terrified of it. No matter what age we're floating at around, most of us fear getting old and dying. I feel like it hit on a lot of big ideas, and I think it pretty much nailed it. There's not a lot of action, but I don't think it needed it. So that's why I pretty much dug this episode, and I like the performance from the lead. I thought he was pretty good here. He showed up in a 1980s Twilight Zone movie as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I thought he had that familiar face. Let me see if I can get his name. I should say his name.
He was around for thousands of years. You saw him in history books.
Yeah, Kevin McCarthy, I believe, was the actor's name. He ended up, oddly enough, he ended up living to a very old age, too. I think we lost him in the early 2000s, but he ended up living to like 90-something years old, and apparently even joked about how he felt a bit like his character in this show because he did live a long life and did end up seeing a lot of people pass on, which happens if you end up living a long life. I like that it touched on all, not that I liked it, but I thought it was interesting that it touched on all of these sort of heavy, weighty subjects. And as we've seen in Twilight Zone, despite the fact that a lot of the writers were younger when they were writing this, they seem to navigate this whole idea of getting older and death like with such grace. They really handled it very well. Other episodes may have handled it even better. The episode with Robert Redford obviously goes into that, the idea of getting
Yes,
older. And
sure.
so we're dealing with some of that, with a lot of that here. Overall, I was pretty happy with this episode. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little surprised you don't like this one, but not like, what the fuck. I'm curious. I'm curious to hear why you don't like it. Let me shut up for a second. I'll hear why you don't like it.
I don't know. I rewatched this. This is not one I go back and rewatch much. And honestly, upon a rewatch, I was like, yeah, there's a reason I don't rewatch this one. Like, I don't really care for it. I think, okay, the idea is not bad. The idea is not the problem. I like the idea of like a Dorian Gray. Even John Steele mentioned somewhere, yeah, time travel, portrait of Dorian Gray vibes. Sure, definitely along those vibes. It's definitely a Dorian Gray type of tale. I think it's funny that the idea of he's a really good lecturer and teacher is because in history class he was there.
Yeah.
Like you have the idea that he was fucking there. So that's
Yeah.
I thought that stuff was fine. And
I thought that was. I didn't get into it, but I love all that stuff too. I think it works very well. Yeah.
It starts okay. To me, it just falls apart when they sit down for that chess game, and it goes on. To me, it felt like 20 minutes.
Wow.
I was like,
very different there. That's what I was liking, and that's what you were like, oh fuck, God, make it stop. Very
I felt
I was liking that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mind the start of it. Like he's like, oh, I believe it's your move. I was like, okay, cool. These guys playing chess, maybe talk for a few minutes. It goes on and on. I mean, where's Journey? On and on and on and on. Fucking, I'm like, oh my God, like what? Y'all shut up. And then I'm gonna marry him. I'm gonna marry him, and we're in love. And I was like, oh boy. And then he goes back to his house after this 20-minute conversation. It felt like. And there's Gertie Gumjob sitting in the fucking chair. Well, you said my eyes were the most beautiful eyes once, and then shoots him, and my man turns to dust. And then,
and that reminded me of there was another episode. Was oh God, what was it? Where a similar thing happened to somebody. They turned to dust. Yeah, it was the one where it's like again. I think it was like an older Hollywood actress. And she remains young, and she's
Queen of the Nile, Queen of the
Nile. It's the same demise for one of the characters in that. But I mean, to be fair, they set that up with the older woman. She's kind of creeping. She's stalking him. They don't tell you. She doesn't completely come out of the shadows. They set it up. That's why. So, but
I mean, okay, it makes sense for his guy after thousands of years of breaking hearts for one of these people to just cap him.
Somebody, he has to have the pissed off ex-wife out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of was like, this is kind of weird. Like, I don't know. It didn't work for me. I just don't like this one. I don't know what it is. Like, I do think the concept's okay. I think the acting is fine. I just felt it was just kind of silly. Like that lady showed up and shot him, and I was just like, really? And like,
it was his gun. It was his gun, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, she took it from his desk.
Yeah, because they're quick. She's old, but she's quick.
Yeah, exactly. She's, I don't know. I just never liked this one. It's not one I ever really go back and rewatch. And when I rewatched it, I was like, yeah, this is why. I just don't care for this one. So I don't think it's an. Go ahead.
No, you please. You first.
I was gonna say I don't think it's an outright failure, but I don't like. It's given a higher rating than Elegy. It's given a higher rating than Mirror Image. It's given a higher rating than Purple Testament. A World of this is the highest rated one we're talking about so far. Is this episode? I don't understand that at all. I don't even think it's.
You know how I mentioned to you that for the most part, lots of Twilight Zones, even ones that maybe I'm not too fond of, sometimes on rewatches, I like them more. This is an example of one of those. This was never one of my favorites. It was only on like maybe the last couple rewatches where I found myself liking it a lot more and appreciating certain aspects of it. So so I guess I sort of understand. Like you said, you don't watch it too much, and in this case, the rewatch didn't help though.
No,
for me, the rewatches did help.
I would have maybe given it a B if I didn't rewatch it. And then
I'm giving it a B anyway. But like a B plus, I would go like that. I don't know if I would go A, but I would.
I was going to say like D. So we will be right in the middle, and this will be our third C.
Okay.
We can put a plus on it since you said B plus, so we can go right in the middle there. Let's see what the chat has to say, though. Is anybody? Am I in the minority on this one too? Let's see. Kevin McCarthy, that's right. Miss Carter. He is known for appearing in the original version.
Yes, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
That's right. Yes. Okay. And then Kubrick says he might have met him at a convention once. That's really cool. How was he if you met him? Yeah. Greetings and salutations, Kubrick. John Steele probably laughing at my Grammy gum jobs mention there, which I mean, it's always very fun to mention that. But this one just never did it for me. I actually watched it with my dad, and he was like, "Oh, I really liked it," and then
he liked it.
We had a debate. I was like, "Nah, it's dumb. I think this one's kind of dumb." I don't know. This is
I know we have to move on. But why did he like it?
He thought it was good. He was like, "I love the idea that he's in the textbook. Like he loved that. He was like, that's really smart." And I was like, yes, but I don't know. I feel like you could have I felt like most of the episode was just a conversation between those two guys playing chess. And I'm like, I don't know. I just felt the episode had no oomph to it. It was just kind of for me, a flat conversation. Yeah. But for you, that made the episode for you. And for him, he really liked it too. So I don't know. Again, maybe I'm in the minority this time. Maybe this is an unpopular opinion. But I will say this one definitely never gets mentioned.
No,
like,
not at all.
Anyone that talks about this one like at all. So I mean,
yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
nice guy, I think. Okay, cool. So Kubrick says that Kevin McCarthy was a nice guy. That's so cool. But you're up, my friend. This next one I think is a banger.
Look at that! I had a good one. People are alike all over. Can we get a moccasin scream?
Moccasin, you were right. People are alike everywhere.
Beautiful thing. Roddy McDowall, legendary Roddy McDowall, stars. Let's see. Rough episode description here. The lone survivor of a crash landing on Mars finds that the native inhabitants, to his relief, very hospitable, but there's a catch. And yes, we definitely know that there's a catch. Easy S tier. I'm gonna guess that's even gonna be yours, but we'll see. I absolutely love this episode. It's another one that reminds me of old Twilight Zone marathons from back in the day. They always seem to run this episode.
True.
I absolutely love the twist. The twist is pretty famous, right?
Yes.
It's definitely one of the more memorable twists. But I love the performance from Roddy McDowall. I love the whole sort of suspicious atmosphere here. Let's see. Is there a deeper message in the episode? I'm just thinking out loud right now. Other than, no matter what, I guess we'll get there. You're usually good with this stuff. Is there a deeper message? I'm not too sure, but I know one thing: it's entertaining as hell.
Yes.
From start to finish, I love where it starts with Roddy McDowall's character, where we get the bit of foreshadowing, where he's at the fence, and he's already behind bars. We open up with him behind bars, and then we close with him behind bars. So that's great. We have great little subtle foreshadowing right there. The Tina character is an interesting little addition there too, because she's sort of our window into like what's going to kind of happen here. And it happens again, unfortunately. And when we get to the ending and it's revealed, spoilers for everybody, if you haven't seen this, please check it out. When we get to the ending here, it's another gut punch. And I really feel that this is another one of those people who are like if the Twilight Zone is like a cosmic force, man, it really railed this guy hard. It really did. He got it bad. This is up there with Time Enough at Last in terms of like just grim, tragic endings that I'm not sure was deserved.
Not at all. I don't think it was deserved at all. And I think it starts off as such this nice, inspiring story. Here you have these two astronauts that it's their dream to go off into space and discover new life. And their ultimate dream and looking through it through literal fence ends up becoming a nightmare. Of course, Moccasin dies on the spaceship. And then the door opens and we think, oh my God, a beautiful Martian. Yeah. They're not speaking our language. We're speaking theirs. They have that kind of throwaway line. I like how they lit this planet as it's just so globy and vibrant. And it's gorgeous looking. I thought that was just gorgeous. And of course, it's just like our world, and he finds this beautiful blonde that kind of seduces him in. They make a beautiful apartment for him. He's got cocktails going. He's got the TV. He's got the perfect setup until he opens the blinds. And of course, he's in a zoo exhibit. And Moccasin, you were right. People were like everywhere. And they're watching him through the bars. One of my favorite shots of the first season or even the entire series is when he opens the blinds and they're just looking just like kids at a petting zoo, like eat
Yeah.
popcorn and looking.
Yeah.
And I love how they open those blinds, they open the curtain, and now man, now human, now the dreamer has lived a nightmare, and now that dreamer has become an animal in a cage. And it's so, to me, realistic, because that is exactly what we did if it was the other way around.
Yeah.
If there was an
Absolutely.
alien, one or two things: either the alien would be studied in a lab and
Yeah.
kept away, but if we found out that we could, put it in an apartment and
Yeah.
sell tickets, that's the first thing Americans would do. That's just what we
Yeah.
would do. And
Yeah.
not just Americans, but anyone, anywhere, wherever. And I thought that was the smartest thing about this episode. It felt so true. And that's hence the title. People are alike everywhere. I
Yeah.
don't care if you're from Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, or Uranus. People are alike everywhere. This is exactly what would happen no matter where you'd fucking be.
Yeah.
And I thought it was brilliant. I thought Ryan McDowell gave a great heart and a really sad despair on his face as we fade to black here, as he goes, "Oh my God, like I got duped. I got absolutely duped. This was my dream. And now I'm going to be stuck in a zoo for the rest of my life looking through these bars." It was all his life was looking through the cage, looking up the rocket and aspiring to be something better. And this is all that better is a zoo exhibit for people to buy tickets and throw things at them. That's as cold as it gets, man. And I think
even the closing narration, if I remember correctly, pretty much like hammers it home, where it's like, I think Rod Serling literally says he'll spend the rest of his life here. There's no escape. He's not getting out. This is where he'll die, in this cage. It's like, don't think this. He's not getting out. This is it. So it's obviously he said it way better than I just did. But yeah, it's just this episode, it goes to a dark place. It's cynical, but it's brilliant. It's easy S tier for me.
I've slam dunk S it, so we could throw it there, because I think it's an absolute slam dunk S as well. And I think that, I don't know, it's another one where I love this one. Like, I agree, it's always on the marathons. It was always one I loved as a kid. And it's like one that I never have an issue rewatching. I just think it's such a good one. Let's see what people in the chat have to say, because a lot of people seem to have seen this one. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the one on Mars. Okay. Human creature in his native habitat. You can't trust people. No, you cannot. It's ironic. Roddy McDowell plays a character who gets put in a zoo for humans because he would later appear in Planet of the Apes, where humans are also put, which was written by Rod Serling, which is funny, full circle there. The ending is sort of ironic. Yep. Maybe it's a horror science fiction TV. Exactly. Yep. And then let's see. I wonder why the Martians wear ancient. Yeah, all the friggin' Martians are just like John Belushi in Animal House. Toga.
Star Trek did the same stuff, man. Those aliens were always in that sort of garb. I know it's probably a bit of a budget thing or whatever, but John Steele had some funny trivia here. A little thing I'm sure you noticed this too.
Yes.
Yeah, there it is. Identify they were going down. I remember correctly. Yeah, but the little Pac-Man things. I love that. And I think there's some Star Trek sounds. There might be some Star Trek sounds in the background here. The ship ambience. I'm not too sure. But yeah, I love little bits like that.
Yeah, me too. And I love a lot of these episodes, you'll see stuff from the Forbidden Planet. That's like the Twilight Zone's favorite movie is Forbidden Planet. But like, I love that too. I noticed that too. And we were laughing over voice matches. Like, I was like, dude, I love the guy's name is Moccasin. And then you sent me a picture of moccasins. You were like, this guy's a shoe. I'm like, yeah, he's a moccasin. I don't know. B for me. Okay. I think that's fair. I would definitely go higher. Mateo has a question for you. Sorry to go on a tangent. No worries at all. But I would like to know Fever Dreamland's thoughts on the 80s Twilight Zone movie. What do you think on that
movie? I'm a fan overall of the movie. There's some good segments in there, and there's some. I mean, obviously, there's the tragedy that sort of overshadows so much of it. It's so freaking hard to get past. That said, I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I'm a fan of that segment. I like that segment.
I think that's the best segment.
Yeah, and I like the two, and it was the most original one. I know it was a bit of a slight reworking, but and I do wonder how it would have been, with the original ending. But and we have two remade segments. I'm a fan of both of those remade segments as well. I thought that they were interesting. Kick the Can, I've never been a big fan of that in either. Oh yeah, I wasn't sure what you felt about it. I've never been a big fan of that in either in the original show or for the movie. Although I like the actors in that. I love that we get. I think Scatman Crothers is in that, right? So
the Spielberg Kick the Can sucks.
We'll see if maybe I'll rewatch that episode. Like, I know we're not going to go into that one, but like hopefully that one plays a little bit better for me. But not the biggest fan of that episode. I think that That's a bit of a famous one too. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I like them. Hopefully maybe we get around to talking about that one together. I think
That would
that'd
be
fun.
fun. That would be fun to review
Yeah.
that. I always thought the best part of that movie is the opening scene. Like the
Yeah, the Dan
guys
Aykroyd
in the
and
car. Yeah.
yeah.
That's great. Like, do you
That's,
ever remember
yeah.
that Twilight Zone? Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. You want to see something really
Scary.
scary? I remember I never saw that
Brilliant.
coming. I was like, these two
Brilliant.
comedic actors, like,
Yeah.
and then it goes there. I was freaked out, man. I briefly covered that on an episode of, I think I did Horrors of 1983 because it was like the 40-year anniversary of that year of horror. And I briefly mentioned that. Fever Dreamland, yeah, I guess you hear Star Trek like sounds in this episode.
Yeah. Those ship episodes.
Twilight Zone movie is yeah, I wish they hadn't done that. I wish they had done their own original stories, or maybe like done what the 94 movie did, where it was like 3 Serling scripts that never got made, but you would have had a budget this time. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Is what it is. But okay, let's move on to the next episode. I believe it's my turn. This is season 1, episode 26. Sorry, excuse me. That debuted Friday, April the 1st, April Fool's Day. Hell yeah. Let's see. This is Execution. When a 20th century scientist takes out his time machine, he accidentally retrieves a murderer from the year 1880, saving him from the hangman's noose. Unaware of the man's history, the scientist attempts to acclimatize him to his new surroundings. I had fun with this. I don't think it's necessarily a good one, but I had a fun time with it. What do you think of this one, man?
I'm about the same. A rewatch helped it. It was never one of my favorites, but a rewatch helped it. And I especially like there's a scene where he's unleashed on the modern day, and he's just roaming around in the streets, and all of that stuff looked really good. Where he's confused, and we get the lights and the action, and he's almost getting hit by a car. So all of that stuff worked very well for me. The performances were pretty strong, and we get the professor from Gilligan's Island. He's
that's
in this
right,
one.
yeah.
So yeah, and I think I mentioned to this nerdy trivia is Albert Salmi's in this another time travel episode. This is his 3rd one, right? Is that what we were talking about?
Yes, this is his first of 3. It's this of late
time travel related episode.
And Quality of Mercy.
Yeah. So that's the kind of interesting little trivia. So yeah, overall this was one of those like this episode is fine. I don't know that I have a lot to say about it. It's just it's good. It's good. It's good Twilight Zone.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, I think it opens up pretty fun where it's like, do you have anything to say about your mortal soul? He goes, well, right now I'm hoping my mortal neck will say. I love that. I thought that was funny. Like, what a funny thing to say to someone.
Good, nasty dialogue. I like it. The guy's a real scumbag. You're like, okay, you can hang him. Go ahead.
Albert Salmi's performance is really underrated. I think he did a really good job. And I agree. Somebody, Brian saying he loves how the cowboy criminal reacts to the technology. That's the highlight of the episode. And I think the actor did almost all of his own stunts.
Wow,
like he jumps through a telephone booth. He smashes up a jukebox. The funniest is, hey, buddy, I'll show you what's on the TV. And it's a guy going to draw. And he just like kind of scrambles and shoots the TV. Dude, the first time I saw that, I bawled laughing. I was like, dude, that is hysterical, man.
It's a wonderful moment. It really is. It really he tears that place apart. Like, I gotta give him credit because he walks into that little spot and he obliterates the fucking jukebox. He tears that apart. Yeah, he just breaks that whole place apart.
The bartender, God bless the bartender, man. He was like, "Oh, here, drink, go ahead." I would never have shown him the TV. Like, I was like, dude, what is this guy doing? I would be like, dude, take the alcohol and please leave. Like, I don't want to get shot.
Yes.
You already destroyed my jukebox. And I don't know. I thought the actor did a fun job. I thought that was a fun one. The ending is where it falls apart. The ending feels so weird and almost like a rewrite. And I believe it was. I believe the initial ending was he was going to get killed by the police. And as soon as he got shot down by the police, he was going to wind up back in 1880. Instead, he goes back to the office. Some other random criminal just happens to show up.
It's weird.
Happens to strangle him, and then just happens to go into the fucking time machine and winds up hanging on the noose in 1880. I was like, this is way too coincidental of an ending, man. It's really, I actually think it's quite good until the very ending, where I'm like, dude, they just totally had a rewrite here. And that's apparently what happened. I don't know if it was Rod Serling's call or somebody made the call to change it to that ending. And I think that was a mistake, man.
I think I agree. I think I pretty much agree. It feels a little odd and tacked on. It works sort of, but it doesn't because it's not really, I don't know that it's completely set up because we just had this other guy in the last 5 minutes who's getting like, I don't know that he has earned being hung per se. We don't know. We know that Albert Salmi's character deserves his fate, or at least whatever, depending where people stand. I should say that. I should be clear about that, because not everybody stands in the same, when it comes to capital punishment. But yeah, when we get this last minute guy, it's just so we do an interesting little swap, and it's like, you think you're clever, Twilight Zone. I don't know about this one. It feels a little, but so it makes sense. You're saying that it was like a rewrite, and it's like, okay, well, I can see that. Yeah.
I guess they just felt it needed something. Like it was like, all right, we can't have this guy just die in the street and then wind up there. I get the probably thinking they were like, this needs a little something. And I just feel like the little something they added was just too weird. Like he just happened to show up in that guy's office. Like I was just like, what? And he just happens, like, it just too much happenstance. Like I was like, this is weird. Like I think the episode is like an A until that happens though. Like I'm all for it. And then that happens, I'm like, B, like for me, like B minus, like I don't know. It's not. It's definitely one of the ones that nobody mentions this. It's like this episode would never even was made. It's very low rated on here. I don't know. I liked it. I think it's fun for the first 2/3 of it. It's worth watching for Albert Salmi.
Yes, it's pretty much fun. I had it like as like a B, pretty much B minus ish.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we're in agreement pretty much on that ending needing a little work.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe too much work. Maybe they just went too far with it. I don't know. But I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. It's definitely one that I had more fun watching upon a rewatch. I didn't hate it. I was like laughing with it, and I enjoyed it. Kubrick says that's a good one. John Steele says B minus. Smasher Fred asks, have we ever watched the 80s zones? Yes, I have. I know that you tried to watch all of them, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I did the like the top 10 episodes, so I put myself through all of them. They're not all great. Let's just say, like, it's safe to say they're not all great, and they certainly don't have the same batting average as the classic episodes had. That said, there was some surprisingly excellent episodes in there that I highly recommend, and even some of the mediocre ones weren't so bad. So, and I think that the 80s, now that I know the 80s Twilight Zone and just simply what it is, and I've accepted it for what it is, I feel like a rewatch will probably help a lot of those episodes, because now I have it out of my head. Like it's not the classic series, it's its own thing. And that's fine. It is what it is. So then just take these for what they are. And so I think a rewatch of that whole series will help. But yeah, I went through them all, and overall I was pretty much a fan of it. But man, there were some rough ones on there. Like I made a top 10 best of. I could have easily made a top 10 worst.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I know they did some remakes. Like they remade a game of pool. They remade the After Hours, you were telling me, right?
Yeah, they did. And I don't even know if a lot of people like that one. I actually kind of dug it, though. I thought it was sort of an interesting, much more horror, where it delved into much more horror. You might like it, or at the very least, you'll find it interesting.
That's cool.
It's for the purposes of comparing it to it's interesting. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to check that one out, I recommend it.
I would like to. I've seen the Game of Pool remake. I've seen that, and I felt that was weak. Yeah. They did it was called Button, where it was like if you hit the button, someone dies and you become a millionaire, and then that twist at the end is, okay, it's going to get offered to someone that they don't know, so they're going to die next.
Yeah.
Okay. It definitely, Wes Craven directed quite a few of them, and I think Toby Hooper. So you had some good filmmakers making those. It's definitely, of the 3 reboots, the best.
Oh, easily, I'd say so. And also we had Dead Man's Shoes was remade into Dead Woman's Shoes, I believe it was.
That's right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, that's one. I don't know. Do you have the collection of that? Like, do you have the Blu-rays of that?
I think, I don't think it's on Blu-ray, but I have the DVDs. And Night of the Meek was remade as well.
Really? That surprises me.
Yeah, Night of the Meek was remade. Not a bad episode. Not a bad. And I think that's a bit of a fan favorite as well.
Okay, that I did not even know that was ever remade. I mean, if I know that was one of the ones shot on Shittio. That was one of the 6 illustrious episodes where they try to cut budget exceptionally, like $6,000. And man, that one has a rough look. But I love the original Night of the Meek. I think that's a good one. I like how the Kaibo Criminal, reacts to all the stuff. Grande, I think I like that ending. Okay, maybe it's that twist. I haven't watched it in a while. Okay, that's fair. He says Anthony Dreamland is frozen. Yes, but we still hear him, so that's totally fine.
Yes, if you can still hear me, I may or may not have to do a reboot. Can you still hear me right now?
I still hear you perfect, so that's
if you can still hear me, because I think I have to do the next one. Maybe we could knock out the next one, and then maybe I'll do a reboot. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, brother. You got, you're up, buddy.
All right. So The Big Tall Wish, which is a good one. Let's see. This one stars Ivan Dixon as Bully Jackson. And this one is about an aging boxer who finds himself the winner of a match he thought he had lost. The result, a 6-year-old's frantic wish. But can a world-weary, embittered man still believe in miracles, or will he turn his back on them? Am I still in the show?
You're still frozen, but I can still hear you
You
perfectly
can still
fine.
hear me. Okay, good. All right. So just put my what I'll do is I'll say my thoughts on this, and then I'll do like a reboot of I'll do like a restart. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. I apologize for the hang up. I am a fan of this episode. I actually like this one a whole lot. Some people may say it's sappy. I love that it's sentimental. I love that it's a sweet little episode. I love that there's a bit of like a warm message in this one. The performances are strong, and I like the overall story. I'm not a lot to complain about with this one for me.
Okay. Do you want to keep going? I don't
Yeah,
want to
no,
cut
that's
you
it for
off.
me. So yeah, please continue, and I'll try to do like a quickie restart. Okay.
Okay, fair
All
enough.
right. Thank you.
Okay, Anthony will be right back, everybody. No problems here. I see Mr. Steele says this is an S tier for him. I like this one a lot too. I think this is a very interesting one because, of course, this is your classic underdog story of the, down in his luck boxer, Bully Jackson, 183 pounds. And he has a shot to win the title. And of course, he's a huge underdog in it because he's older, even though he's like late 20s. He's older, he's aged, he's weathered, and nobody gives him a shot in hell to win the big one. Of course, he is friends with this little kid in the apartment who believes in him and is his good friend. And you're my good friend. You're my good close friend, Bully. And of course, he makes this big tall wish, which hence is the name of the episode. And he makes this big tall wish, the wishing that, Bully Jackson will win the heavyweight championship of the world. And then of course, Bully gets knocked down. He looks like he's going to be out for the count, and the wish comes true and they switch places. All of a sudden, Bully has won the title, and everyone's like, great fight. You beat him. You did a great job. But Bully knows deep down inside, this is not right. There's something tainted about this. And of course, he comes home and everyone's giving him the praise. And then of course, he runs into the little kid, and the little kid's like, listen, you have to believe. You have to believe in the magic that I believed in for you. And, this is something that, you have to be in and believe in with me. And I thought it was a really nice, sentimental episode. I know a lot of people really don't like the sappiness, I guess, or the, they say it's so sweet that it'll rot the teeth out of your mouth. I don't feel that way at all. I think it was really well done. This was actually a very groundbreaking episode at the time because this was an all black cast, and this is the year 1960. So you weren't seeing all black casts done a lot. And I know Rod Serling was a big, criticizer of racism, and, he really despised it. And here he gives, of course, Ivan Dixon, the actor, the lead role in a Twilight Zone episode. And I thought he did a wonderful job. And I thought the entire cast did a really nice job telling this interesting story about an underdog who's down in his luck, who his own ignorance in believing in magic and his own ignorance in believing in miracles, ends up being his ultimate sort of demise for this miracle. And I love the great Rod Serling narration. Mr. Bully Jackson, 183 pounds, who left a second chance lying in a heap of rosin-spattered canvas at St. Nick's Arena. Mr. Bully Jackson, who shares the most common ailment of all men, the strange and perverse distinction to believe in a miracle, the kind of miracle to come from the mind of a little boy, perhaps only to be found in the Twilight Zone. I love that. I think that's just such a wonderful, well-spoken finale where he's right. It's the ignorance of man. It's the ignorance of an adult to not believe in miracles, to not believe in themselves. And it was this child's love for Bully and this child's admiration and dedication and belief in that Bully Jackson could win the big one. Bully Jackson could be a name that meant something again. It's his belief in him that makes the big tall wish come true. And it's Bully's own denial of that unfortunately leads to the decision getting reversed, and he does lose the fight, and all the praise goes away. And he goes to the kid at the end. He says, listen, I'm not going to wish anymore. Like, that's it, and these things aren't meant to be. And I don't know. It's a nice ending, but it's also kind of a sad one at the same time, because I think we all wanted that underdog. I think that's the beauty thing of an underdog story, whether it be a trope or not, and whether it be run into the ground or not. I mean, it's been done a million times. I mean, we all seen Rocky. We all know this. But I thought this was really well done. I thought it was really nicely told. And Anthony Fever Dreamland's back now. Yes, brother. Give me some more of your thoughts on this one, because I'm a big fan. I like this one.
Yes. Okay. Hopefully I can stay. Apologize for that. So there's a little boy in this episode. Child actors. Sometimes we talked about a child actor from earlier, who you were not a fan of from Monsters of on Maple Street. Now here we have a child actor who I now again unfortunately I missed some of your thoughts on, so I don't know if you brought him up. I should say his name too. Did you mention his name?
I did not mention his
The
name.
little boy who's in this. He's excellent though. It's such a little heartfelt performance. I don't know if the kid went on, to do too much beyond this, unfortunately. But I know that he was good here. And he has some great little emotional scenes with this older boxer. And I'm a sucker for boxer stories. I love Rocky and stuff like that. So maybe that's why this episode works for me as well.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I'm looking up now. Stephen Perry.
Stephen Perry.
He
Okay.
didn't do too much. He was in A Raisin in the Sun,
Okay.
which was very shortly after this. But yeah, no, not much. He retired from acting in the early 70s, so that's a shame. But I think Ivan Dixon did a good job, and you would also see him again, I believe, by season 5. I think he's in I Am the Night, Color Me Black as the
Yes.
priest.
Yes.
So it's cool to see him, come full circle from one of the first season 1 episodes to one of the last season 5 episodes. It's kind of weird to see that, but I don't know. I like this one. I always know that people say it's overly sentimental, overly sappy. It's pretty poorly rated. I don't know why that is, though. I don't really get why. I think this is kind of an interesting one, and I think it's a nice underdog story of a guy who just couldn't believe in the magic, and I think that's kind of what makes it tragic.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, yeah, I don't have a lot of bad to say about this. I mean, the performances were fine. Everything was pretty much firing on all cylinders here. And I think that the heart of the episode is like the relationship between a little boy and the boxer, and all of that worked for me. It all felt genuine. It all felt sweet. It all felt really nice. I was rooting for this guy. He feels like so down and out, and he just seems doomed to not make it. And then I found it interesting that even when he gets some help, he's just so beaten down, he can't even take the help. I don't know. There's something about that that's just very poignant to me. It's just.
Why do you think? Here's a question for you. Why do you think he didn't? Because like upon a rewatch, I'm like, man, why wouldn't you just be like, yeah. Like, I don't know, man. It's
because if you want to make he certainly doesn't make the argument that I know of, unless I'm a little rough on the episode, of like, oh, if I'm going to make it, I want to make it on my own. That would be one direction, right? Like if I'm going to win, then I want to win on my own. I don't want to win because of a wish. That might be a direction, but I don't think that we quite go there. It feels more like it's just about him just not believing in miracles. Him just not, he's been too beaten down. He's too battered and bruised and down on the whole world and cynical. And this little boy, it's a little tragic, right? Because it feels like it bleeds over to the little boy. Like we get this great conversation where he's holding the little boy. He's like, somebody needs to smack you in the face and wake you up to how the world is. He delivers it 1,000 times better than me. But it's like this, it's a bit of a harsh lesson for the kid that is important for life, because unfortunately life isn't going to be all great. But at the same time, I feel like this episode, maybe it's a little bit contradictory. I don't know, where it's saying like, hey, let's believe in miracles, but it's also presenting us with this harsh reality that sometimes you're not going to make it in life. And this Boldy Jackson is a good example of that.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it saying and speaking about the ignorance of an adult, and that when you grow up, a part of your heart dies. And this is old. Even though he's not that, he's like late 20s, but in boxing years, you're 99 years old in boxing.
Yeah.
You're like 20s. And it's like, he's saying that, I don't believe in these things and I can't believe in magic. There is no such thing. It's a part of your heart and that sense of wonder that dies. And I think that that's why I love the whole thing with the child. The child will believe in that. A child will believe in more and believe in you, even if you or nobody else does. They constantly remind you how beat down and broken this guy is, but yet this kid believes in this big tall wish that's going to save him, and it does. And it's really his ignorance at the end that doesn't allow him to accept that fate for his character. And I don't know, I thought this was so well done. I thought this was really smartly written. I like, again, that the casting and the fact that this was the first all-black cast in a Twilight Zone, and how groundbreaking it was. You said it won an award at the time, right?
Yes, I believe it. Yeah, it won an award for race relations, I believe, in the early 1960s. So yeah, I think that was wonderful, and I think that this point has been brought up before too. Like, it's not necessarily a big deal that, oh, it's an all black cast. It's just like this is who they are, and this is just it is what it is, and it's just it happens to be a wonderful story, and the lead and the actors all happen to be black, and they're doing their thing, and it's just isn't something that we ever saw. Or I wasn't around back then, but it just isn't really something that was on television back then.
No, I mean, you look, you're in
Unfortunately,
1960. You
yeah.
weren't seeing this. And like, I think that it was what was smart here as opposed to I Am the Night, Color Me Black, which I felt that one, I never really liked that one. I felt that one just completely forgot what it was trying to say, like the morality it was trying to say. This I just thought was a nice story. Like, I think this was such a nice story. It was a little bit better written and I think a little bit better acted for that part. I just thought this one really worked. I thought this was nice. Maybe I'm a sucker for the old underdog story. Maybe it has been done to death, but God damn it, I thought it was done really well here. So I don't know. For me, it's a strong A. I don't know if it gets the S level for you, but we can put it there if you want.
I would lean toward S in this one. It's such a powerful, and I even want to mention, I want to give props because the cinematography was very nice in this too. That we get some wonderful shots when the boxer ends up on the floor. We get a wonderful shot of the little boy up against the TV screen making his wish. It's almost iconic to me. It's such a memorable little moment. So yeah, I would go S with this, but yeah, A is a pretty freaking solid score as well.
I put it in. We'll round up to S because we're between letters that don't have a gap. So
Yeah,
I think it's a damn good one. So I think
and not a lot of negatives. I'm not hearing too many negatives. Like I'm hard pressed to come up with with many negatives.
And believe it or not, I mean, you look at the ratings for this one, it's pretty poorly reviewed. I don't really understand why. I don't really get it. John Steele says S tier for him. So, he's right there with you. This episode is almost like an African version of the 1950s movie Angels in the Outfield because it deals with a child's wish where someone would win. Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. And there's another episode that has some Angels in the Outfield ties that we will get to not too long. Off topic, when are you sending the new shirts? I will do it probably in the new year. Not this week because I honestly, Anthony knows my dilemma at work right now. I'm a one-man show. Well, whatever. There's other people, but not too many. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely not going to be this weekend. I had too much shit going on at work. I just want to get through tomorrow and go to bed. That's really what I want to do. But I will send them out. I'll let people know. I'm going to reach out to everybody individually, get your addresses, and then we'll go forward from there. So that don't worry, I will reach out to you. Don't worry about reaching out to me. I will reach out. The kids' emotional scenes and the wish aspect reminds me of the later Goonies film and the emotions in that. That's an interesting way to, and of course that's directed by Richard Donner, who did quite a few Twilight Zones by the end of season 5. So
one of my favorites, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. I believe.
Yeah, and I would say Come Wander With Me is another good one that nobody really
ever yeah, that's an interesting one.
Weird one, but I like his direction there. But man, coming up next, for me, if it's not Elegy, it's this is the most underrated episode of this season. And I don't understand why it doesn't get more love. I think this should be an all-time classic for people, but I don't know. We'll see where you fall on this one.
I love that you landed on this one too to talk about.
Oh my God, I'm so stoked. I love this one. This is one I absolutely love. For a long time, this was like my pick for most underrated. Now it has been overtaken. There are more underrated zones, but I love this one. It has a special place in my heart. This one debuted on Friday, April the 15th of 1960. This is season 1, episode 28. This is a nice place to visit, aka The Other Place. When bad guy Henry Francis Valentine dies in a shootout with police, he wakes up in the next world where his every wish is granted forever and ever and ever. Anthony, man, I love this one. I really, truly love this one, man. What are your thoughts? Give me your feelings on this one because I think this is a classic.
I'm about with you on it. And I'll say this, another reason why it's kind of cool is that this is one that I don't know if I don't think there was ever a moment where I disliked it, but it was always one of those episodes I was like, yeah, it's okay. And man, it's grown on me after rewatches. This one is grown on me even more so. Again, love the performances, but I mean, you were telling me, man, the cinematography is really happening as we get some awesome visuals in here. It's good reason why it's in the thumbnail. This wonderful shot of the steps and the filing cabinets.
And fun fact, now I know you like these fun trivia facts.
Oh yeah,
those are the same steps in Time Enough at Last.
Hey,
and another thing. There were 2 choices of the lead actor before they landed on the guy they got. First choice was Mickey Rooney.
Okay,
Mickey Rooney couldn't do it. Mickey Rooney, we will see later on in season 5, Last Night of the Jockey, which isn't half as good as this episode. The second choice, Rod Serling, was the second choice. And Rod Serling was like, I can't do it. I'm the host. They were like, no, we think this would be great for you. Like, this is the one you should do. And Rod Serling said, hell no, I'm not doing it. So that's when they went to choice number 3, which was who they got. I thought that was, I could never imagine Rod Serling doing this. Mickey Rooney, absolutely. Rod Serling, no way. I think that would have been
no. I'm not seeing. I love Rod Serling, and whoever we always want more Rod Serling, but I don't know that this. That's so weird that how they went to Rod Serling for that. What was this? Let's see. Was it Larry Blyden? I believe.
Yes.
Was okay. Yeah, and then Sebastian Cabot. Oh, we get some fun stuff to talk about here because it's a bit of a point. Like, is this character the devil or is he not the devil? I'm curious, where do you stand on this one? Because I got shit on it for not including him in my my ranking when I did Devils. And I'll even say, like, maybe he is a devil. I'll put it out there. I just leaned against it. But what do you think?
would lean against that too. And by the way, that was the first video you ever did, right?
It was a surprisingly earlier one. That was me being a little too ambitious, maybe, because if I'd known better, like if I made that same video now, I'd at least put this guy in there as an honorable.
Oh, see, I thought that was an awesome video. If anyone wants to check out Anthony's earliest stuff, that was so cool. He ranked the devils, like the actors and actress. Of course, Julie Newmar played the devil in an episode, which I love Julie Newmar. She's my favorite Catwoman. I did the poll last night. Absolutely love that video. So if everyone wants to check that out, but what did you think of this episode? The idea, what did you think of this one overall? Because I think this one is just so good.
It moves along at like a perfect pace.
Yes.
Because it's always tough with these. Like, I'm trying to remember if the first time I ever saw it, was it predictable or not? Because that may or may not be a thing for some people that, it's slightly predictable. We know that he's in the other place. So it's just a matter of waiting for him to realize it. I can't remember if I knew that, but all the same, it still moves at such a great pace. We get enough little great moments as he's sort of discovering this new world, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm in heaven," and he's. I love that they get a little edgy with the women, and there's a lot of implications that he's having a good time. Let's just put it at that. But he's gambling, he's doing his thing, and it's just a lot of wonderful moments. Sebastian Cabot is just knocking it out of the park here. Absolutely. I think the poor guy ended up having to dye his hair white.
Yeah, he did.
On this.
He didn't want to.
Yeah, he didn't want to. I don't blame him. I'm getting there naturally myself now. But he absolutely, just the look, the demeanor, everything was great about how he presented himself. And the final moment where we get that laugh is like, it's perfection. It's absolute perfection. This is the other place, and he laughs.
That should be the title. I think that's the better title. I know that was the initial title.
I like that.
They changed it for some reason. I don't know why they changed it, but I thought
you mean it really was originally going to be called The Other Place? Okay, wow.
I don't know why. I don't know who made the call to decide against it, but I thought The Other Place was the perfect title for this. And
because it could go either way. It's not even necessarily spoilery. The Other Place can refer to the afterlife. The Other Place can refer to heaven. It can refer to hell.
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe that's why. Maybe to try to like make you think something else. But like, I don't know. I think The Other Place is the perfect title. And to me, the whole idea of your personal hell is your personal heaven. I think that's so smart. Like, what man wouldn't want any woman he'd ever want to sleep with? What man that likes to gamble or go to Atlantic City or Las Vegas or wherever the hell it is, you get to win and every number that you put on roulette hits, and every hand of blackjack you hit 21, and every shot of billiards you get every single ball in. Who wouldn't want that most perfect dreamsicle life? And at the same time, it sounds great on paper, but too much of a good thing becomes so bad. And I love his slow descent into boredom of I'm bored, Pat. I'm straight up bored. And I don't want to do this anymore. You see, I thought this place was only for school teachers. And I love how Sebastian Cabot goes, we have some school teachers. I love that.
There's another, that's a great little funny moment. And there's another little moment. I was going to ask your thoughts on this, where it's toward the end. He wants to go up to look at his history. And before he leaves, he tells the girls to go into the other room. And then before he exits with Sebastian Cabot, he peeks in at the other room to tell the girl, he's like, I'll be back. And he gives her we know that he's looking in at the girls, but he gives her a look at them. and we don't see what's going on in there or what they're doing. But he makes a weird. If you get a chance to rewatch it, it's sort of like a what are they doing in there? So there's a lot of like. It feels like there's a lot of sexual, especially for a 60s show where they had their eyes on what's showing, like, oh, watch what you're doing, but they weren't really watching for this kind of stuff.
I think that was authentic though, because like think about I mean, I don't know if you've seen this clip. There's a great clip of this guy who won the lottery, and you could tell he's all coked out. And the woman goes, "What are you gonna do with the lottery money?" He goes, "I'm gonna buy strippers and cocaine." Like, but that is what would happen if this is a degenerate guy who is he thinks he's in heaven, but he's in the other place. That's what he would do. Like, I mean, that would be the first thing most men would do is fucking do that. Like, I mean, why not? You're in heaven. You think you're in heaven. Why the hell not? So I think that was really authentic, because if it was just, oh yeah, just give me some food, or just, put on the Knicks game. Like, it was something like, no, like, that had to be in there. I thought that was authentic. I agree though. Very risque for 1960, an era where showing a toilet made people gasp, let alone, insinuating foursomes.
Was it ad-libbed or something? Some of the reactions, I almost wonder, because it certainly felt natural and it felt in the moment and great. It worked. A lot of little great moments in this one, and it's one that, like I've said, it improves when I rewatch, and that's saying a lot, because we know the ending, we know the twist, but yet it all works just watching it.
Yeah, that's the main the main critique on it is that it's too predictable. I've watched it so many times and it's never bothered me. Like, I don't understand. And I thought the scene with the steps, and it reminds me a lot of Bruce Almighty with I am God, and he shows him the floor, and it opens up forever. Like, this is your file. I thought that was great.
And it's all terrible things that he's done. It's all
there must have been something good. Age 5, murdered dog. He's like, that dog bit me. Like, I love it. The actor does a great job.
And it's not meant, no, this isn't a comedy episode. It's definitely not a comedy episode. But again, this is what comedy, I think, works really well in Twilight Zone, in episodes where we're not going for the laughs. It just happens to be funny.
Yeah. Because because it's just so, he has no perception of how horrible he is. He's just another greaser, We called ourselves the Angels. I love that shot though, and they're walking up the steps.
Yeah.
You see, it's almost like a cloudy background. The music to me goes from A to S. I love the music. I love the whimsical, and then the ending of heaven. Whatever gave you the idea this is heaven? This is the other place. And that evil laugh and the and then Rod Serling, he'll have to live there for the remainder of his life. I just love the music in this episode. I think it added so much meat to the potatoes here. And I don't know, man, I just thought this was a perfect one. I always been one of my favorites. To me, a top 10 episode of the first season. And that's saying a lot, because you have a lot of quality and quantity. You have 36 episodes, and I would say this would be in my top 10 of the first season. I don't know about you, but this is slam dunk S for me.
It's worked. It's like, maybe like prior to rewatching it, it would have been an A. And on a rewatch, I'm going with S as well.
Hell yeah, let's go,
I think so, because there's not a lot. Again, there's not a lot of problems per se that I could point out, and there's more than enough little great moments. And if the trivia I read is correct, the slot machine is the very same slot machine supposedly from the Fever.
Franklin, which I know. Again, I know people hate
that would be in hell.
I really love that one. Let's see comments. Thanks, Grande. I wasn't worried, just curious. I hope the rest of your week is good. Hey, one more day, Miss C, and we'll be chilling. Next one. Okay, Steele's right there with us. He's going S with us. The one with the gangster who always wins. That's right. Yep. I guess I'm thinking. No, that's the one. You're right. Slasher Fred says, I love when Sebastian Cabot's character says, whatever made you think you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine. This is the other place. I thought Sebastian Cabot was so good in this. The white tux, white hair, and oh my God, some of his lines were just so much fun.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the one. It's sort of like Jean-Paul Sartre's play No Exit, where I think the characters are left in one room for eternity that can't get along with each other. Okay, I've not seen that. Have you?
Wait, I'm sorry. Repeat that.
This one, he said it's just like Jean-Paul Sartre's play No Exit. Have you seen that?
No, I don't think so. But it does sound familiar. But I don't think I've.
We've seen 5 characters in search of an exit. That's a great one.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same thing. The alley scene where they meet with the adverts tied to the circus on the fence sets it up nice. That's right. I didn't think of that. Very cool.
Get
Use
another
your
rewatch.
own mind, right? That's your ultimate hell is heaven. I think that's so brilliant. Mr. Dan is here.
Hey,
Mr.
Mr.
Dan,
Dan.
hey man, I just want to say I shared your video that you did for me for the Godzilla vs. Smile Monster. Number one, great review, and number two, awesome birthday gift. I was not expecting that. So thank you so much, Mr. Dan. If you guys aren't subscribed to Mr. Dan, please do. He just did an awesome Godzilla review for me, and I know that his short of reviewing Godzilla -1 is like blowing up. So Mr.
Yeah.
Dan, happy holidays, man. Thank you so much for the kind words. Hope all is well with you. Set design and wardrobe. I agree. I think that it's just such a good one, man. Let's see. I'm watching Grande. This is the best time I'm having. Oh, wait, I'm in hell. Just kidding. No worries.
Oh.
gotta get going. I'll catch up later. Bye, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Miss C, be good. Night. Let's see. John Paul Sartre is an extemporaneous philosopher. Okay. Cabot would make a pretty good host himself on the anthology show Ghost Story. Oh, I've not seen that. Have you seen that?
No. Is he saying that he would make a host or that he did host it?
I thought he was insinuating that he did host it, but that's it.
Okay.
I've not seen the
Check
show.
it out. I have to check it out.
Thank you, man. That was such a cool birthday surprise. I did not expect. I was like, no way. How cool is this guy? So yeah, no, that is a nice place to visit. But you're up next, Mr. Fever Dreamland. What do you got?
Well, what's the next stop?
Actually, the one ahead of us. The next.
Oh, wait.
Child.
Back up. it's one more stop ahead. Okay. So that's not the next stop. Okay. So much for that lead in. Okay. Nightmare is a child. Well, you feel free to steal it. Nightmare is a child is what we're up to. Let's see. This one starred Janice Rule as Helen Foley, Terry Burnham as Marky, a little girl there. All right. Let's see. A school teacher keeps seeing a strange little girl in her apartment building. That's a bit of a rough description.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more to this one. This one's okay. This one creeped me out. I'll tell you when I was young. This one definitely got to me. It's still pretty spooky because it goes to some very dark places. It's predictable. It is predictable. Now, is it predictable to the point that like it's like a bad episode? I wouldn't say it. I definitely wouldn't go that far because I still like the performances. I still like the basic concept of this little girl who, to me, it feels like it's a manifestation of her own sort of memory that's sort of coming to life and trying to bring back these terrible memories of her mother's death, right? And then she gets confronted by this guy who killed her mother, and it gets a little clunky at the end here. So I don't know. This episode has a few issues. I ended up landing around a C for this one. It has its good points. It has its bad points. What did you think of this one? I'm curious.
So before I say anything, Steele's right with you. Steele said a C. I would be a little bit higher than that. I think I agree. I think the perfect word you said is spooky. I do think that little girl is so spooky. And I do think the idea of facing your repressed horrors that even your own subconscious, even your own conscious has repressed. Like she doesn't pay any mind to it. She doesn't think about it. It's not ruining her day. Like she's moved on with her life. But her subconscious comes to her in the form of this little girl, and she's forced to face her demons. No matter how afraid she may be, she's got to step up to the plate and face them. And, this one, I mean, I know you were saying nice place to visit has some risque stuff. This one really goes there. They're insinuating that this guy had a crush on her when she was like 8 and he was in his 20s. Yeah. So that's fucking weird. Like,
you do the math on that, and you're like, illegal. We're in illegal territory.
I don't know. Maybe back then it wasn't as bad, like or looked at that way or creepy, but it's looked at it through my eyes here. It was creepy. I was like,
no, same thing here. I was curious about this one. I think I looked into it on Reddit and stuff like that, and there were a few people. I don't know, maybe if there's any older people watching. I heard a few people say that maybe back in the day, crush may have just it doesn't mean what it means today. Whereas if you say, I have a crush on her, she has a crush on me, it means a crush. It means you like them in a romantic way or in a sexual way or whatever. Whereas back then it didn't necessarily mean that. It may have just meant that he liked her. But even that's kind of weird. So I don't know. Maybe somebody just
he does use the word. He says like, I had a crush on you when you were a little girl. I'm like, what the fuck? Like what? But
that stands out. That really stands out. Yeah, because I mean And then he has a photo of her, right? He whips out a photo that he kept. It's not helping, dude. But the fact that
No,
you're carrying around.
he's like, keep digging, buddy,
Ugh.
keep digging. No,
So that's.
I
I mean, the
thought if
guy's
anything
he's a
though,
creeper anyway.
yeah, if
But
anything though, yeah, it worked because that was his character. So I was like, okay, I mean, this is fucked up, but all right, the character's an evil guy. So I mean, I thought that worked for the character.
yeah,
I like this one. I think it's pretty good.
yeah.
It's not one I watch a lot, but every time I watch it, I'm like, that one's not that bad. Like I kind
Mhm,
of
mhm,
would put it over. I don't know if
mhm,
it's an A, but
mhm.
I would probably go B. I would say
Okay.
B for this one
Okay.
for me.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I had it at like a C, C plus, and I don't know if I'd go B, but yeah. I mean, I had it at a C plus, so
all right, well, the plus will put it over because I had it on a straight
that's
B.
fine. That's fine. Yeah, because there is some genuinely good stuff, and I also like when they start filling in the gaps and we start seeing some flashbacks. That's done really well, and we see a
Yeah.
silhouette of him with her mother. That stuff is perfect. That stuff is done really well. It's very haunting. It's straight out of a horror. That's some straight horror right there.
Yes, this one is straight
Yeah.
horror, and I think this one is really well done and kind of ambitious. Like I think the whole idea
Yeah.
of confronting your repressed memories through the child
Yeah.
version of yourself was cool. And then at the end,
Yeah.
she actually does kill him, pushing him down the steps, and then encounters the little girl that's not her, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh hey, you want to come in for cocoa? Like you see that she's come full circle. She faced her demons. She beat her demons. She
Mhm,
has that arc moment. She didn't just repress them away. She faced them, defeated
mhm,
them, and now can really move on and live with her life. And I
mhm,
thought
mhm.
that stuff was really nice. So this was a nice, like, sentimental ending. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this one. I think this one
Yeah.
is fine. Like I
And at least
definitely would say a little bit above average.
yes. Okay, fair enough. And that worked for me that last little bit at the end. The tumble down the stairs that felt like it could have been worked a little better, maybe a little more clear that she pushed him or something. I would have liked to have seen something a little more clearer. It felt like he just kind of fell, and although it was a good fall, I would have broke my neck on that fall.
Oh
But that's
shit.
getting
Yeah, no, you
nitpicky.
couldn't pay me enough to do that as a stunt.
No, no, no. Hey, it's those stunt doubles, man.
Yeah,
Jeez.
no, that's a tough job. But no, I would say a little bit above average for me for this one. I know this
Mhm.
one's kind of hated too, but I would say just above average for me. But the next stop, I'm gonna have to steal this from you.
Yeah, go.
The next stop is season 1, episode 30, another infamous one. This is one that I think when it came out, it wasn't the biggest hit, but over the years, this is one that has slowly but surely garnered a big cult following, and a lot of people kind of gravitate towards this one. I know plenty of people that have told me this is their favorite one,
Mm.
and I can understand why because it's great. And this is season 1, episode 30. This is a stop at Willoughby. Tired of his miserable job and wife, a businessman starts dreaming on the train each night about an old idyllic town called Willoughby. Soon,
Yeah.
he has to know whether the town is real and fancies the thought of seeking refuge there. Um, Anthony, tell me, man, what was your first thoughts when you saw this episode? Because this is, to me, an all-time classic as well.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna be totally together on this one. Okay, so I guess when you see this episode when you're younger, you just sort of like you feel bad for the guy because you could tell he's having a hard time at his job, he's having a hard time at home, and he's seeking an escape. So it's working all on that level. Then you get older, and you start maybe going through some of this stuff where you're having a difficult time at work, or perhaps you're in a difficult relationship. So it becomes relatable. You understand what it's like to be pressured, unfortunately, in life, and have the hardcore pressures. And man, this actor, let me see if I get his name right, because I want to. Uh, James Daly plays
Yes.
Garth Williams. He's doing so well here. Right from the opening scene, they set him up as somebody who's just getting completely beaten down because his boss is essentially a monster.
Yeah.
It's a push business. It's a push. It's almost over the top, but it's friggin' working. It's working for me.
Push,
Yeah,
Williams.
it's push business. Yeah, right. And we've all. I used to be in sales. I've mentioned this before to you, and that's a little something I could sort of relate to, at least on that level of like, get the fuck out there and sell, sell, sell. But yeah, I mean, I feel like anybody can just relate to this guy, man or woman. We've all just sort of had moments in life where we're completely beaten down and looking for an escape. We've seen this ground sort of covered in walking distance, but here it's doing it in a God, it's doing it's definitely not sentimental.
It's darker.
It's darker, and it goes darker. We'll get there to the ending too. It certainly goes to a darker place. But yeah, man, just there's a lot to talk about. This one, man, I think we could spend hours talking about this
You
one.
could because
Yeah.
like I saw it as a kid and I liked it.
Yeah.
But it's not until I became an adult, until I worked a 9 to 5, until I dealt with heartbreak with a
Mhm.
female, until you deal with adult problems,
Mhm.
man. I mean, we're all adults. You all go through problems. You all
Mhm.
go through sad times, ups and downs, peaks and valleys, whatever. And I think everyone, whether it be called Willoughby or not, has a Willoughby.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember when I was at, personal anecdote, when I was working in New York City at Sirius XM, there were some nights where I was on the train,
Yeah.
got on the way home at all hours in the morning, that I was, where's my Willoughby? Like just wondering where it is, because
Yeah.
it was just sad. I wasn't happy where I was. I didn't like what I was doing. I was
Yeah.
miserable. And I think that's why this episode has garnered such a cult following, because it's so relatable. Anyone
Mhm.
that has ever dealt with stress or misery or sadness in any way can relate to this, because we all have a dreamland that we'd like to go to. We all have something that we aspire. And of course, we watch this man as his marriage is crumbling, his job is stressful, his life is just horrible. He even asks his secretary, I need a chart of the human anatomy where all the major arteries are. I mean,
Yeah.
dark shit. And
Yeah.
of course, every night, his only escapism is not movies. It's not reading books like Burgess Meredith. It's not, any of the other things that normal people would do. It's sleeping on the train about this town called Willoughby. And of course, I think so many things here from a style standpoint. Number one, the conductor. What a
Mhm.
creepy motherfucker. I don't even know if it's intent. I think they're intending for him to be
The
sweet.
the modern one, because we have a couple of them, or you mean the one from the
I'm
modern
talking
ones?
about the Willoughby. Willoughby, next
Okay.
stop, Willoughby. That
Yes.
guy scared the shit out of me. I don't know what it
I can
was.
see that. Yeah, I can
He
see that.
has he has nice, like,
He's a
kind
lot.
eyes, but he's just, because you like, he has to know that how,
Yes.
I don't know. I found
Yeah,
that guy
yeah.
creepy. So that to me clashes in styles. But some of the brilliance of this episode, the fact of, if you listen closely, I'd never noticed this until the rewatch. He gets off and you hear, beautiful dreamer waiting for me. I was like, wow, what a fucking great,
Yeah.
that's the most fitting usage of that particular song I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this fantasy world, and it's literally, it's kids going fishing, it's the
Yeah.
summer, it's people on the giant bicycle with the giant wheel and the little wheel, and it's just his, dream world. It's
Yeah.
his escape of this horrible reality that he is depressed over. And man, I don't know about you, but where do you view this, you know from a happiness or sadness endpoint? Because in one way, yeah, he got to go where he's happy, but he gets it in the most dark of ways. Like, to me, it's
Yeah.
such a wow, like, weird.
I feel like it's a ballsy ending.
It is.
Like the optimist in me wants to just think, okay, on the surface, he took his own life. But no, 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 he's living out the rest of his life in the Twilight Zone in this idyllic reality that he created, almost like the episode we talked about earlier, where oh god, a world of difference.
Yes.
I'd like to think this poor guy ended up there, as opposed to just literally Willoughby being like the car that closes up at the end. It was like Willoughby funeral home or something like
Yeah.
that. Or
And they
mortuary.
even do the clock. You have the shot of the clock, and then it's the guy
Yeah.
with the lights, like, waving the people in to get his body. I was like, oh shit, like, that's dark, man.
As much as I want this to be a happier ending, I feel like it's leading us more into like that he just took his own life and that was his escape. I feel like it's just pushing us more toward that. The opening line that you mentioned about like give me a chart of the human anatomy. That's stuff that maybe we all say and we really shouldn't say it, but it might be something. It to me, it's an indication or it's a suggestion that this guy's already thinking about ending his life. And for us, it's being presented as this fantasy. And I think that that might just be what happened here. But
I would
the
agree.
optimist, yeah, the optimist in me is like, no, no, he went off to the Twilight Zone. Like when you're a kid and they take your dog away, it's like, no, no, he's on a farm and the dog is fine. He's gonna be great.
He's in
Oh,
Willoughby. He's in the cornfield. By God, he got
because
wish.
they take it too far where they show him, that he's jumped off the train. They show that that we have the line in the beginning and we have the revelation at the end that he's jumped off the train, and we have the revelation of the car closing and it's Willoughby. So I feel like as in terms of like what it means, I feel like it's just saying this guy off himself.
Yeah, and it is.
I don't know,
I
man. It's a
definitely
rough
think
one.
he did. but I wonder, like, in the context, like, was he better off? And I know that's morbid and dark to say, and I know it's probably not politically correct, but,
Mm.
like, I mean, yeah, how many times I even this week at work, I've done one of these where I was like, just
Yeah, we all,
God damn it, I don't really mean it, but God, in the moment, it's you son of a bitch. Like, I'm just pissed at the situation. I think that's totally normal. But in his life, man, there was nothing going good. There
yeah,
was, I mean, his marriage was over. That wife
yeah,
was being horrible to him. His word, he told his fat ball, he was like, "Shut your mouth, fat boy."
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he really hit rock bottom.
yeah,
And I guess this episode, in a dark way, is saying maybe this was the better
yeah,
choice out. But man, if you say that, then you open up a whole can of worms, especially
yeah,
in the politically correct era
yeah,
that we live in
yeah,
today. But apparently, it has the big cult following, so I'm sure there's a lot of people that long for Willoughby. It's just the sad, dark, twist, and cruel reality of you
mm,
have to end your reality to get to the fiction dream world that you want to live in so badly. To me, it's just such an interesting clash in styles and emotions and feelings because I don't know how I'm supposed to feel at the end of this. When I first
mm,
saw it, I was like, that's cold. What a cold ending. But on the surface, did he get his happy ending? I mean, maybe he's just in Willoughby fishing even right now.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what he
You know,
wanted.
and he
But
reaches out. He even reaches out one last time to his wife toward the end. He's like, because he's decided he's gonna leave his job, and he calls and he's like, "I can't do it. Can't do it anymore, honey." And she just hangs up on him, and that was it. Then he gets on a train because it's like there's nothing left.
yeah, and he definitely, I know they insinuate that he wasn't like conscious when he did it. Like he didn't consciously do what he did, but I
Mm,
think his subconscious wanted him to get
yeah,
off at the stop of Willoughby and just, live there, even though in living there cost him his real life. So I don't know. I think this one's fucking brilliant though. And,
yep,
and I
yeah,
really think this is like one of the best ones of
yeah,
the first season. It would be in probably top 5 of the
yeah,
first
yeah.
season, and it'd be in conversation of the top 20
Mhm.
ever for the show. I love this one. To me, it's a slam dunk ass, man.
So agree. S, easy S. Probably the easiest S that we've had, maybe so far.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, we
Yeah,
can we can at the end look at this whole S list, but man,
yeah,
there's
that'd be
quite a
fun.
few. There's quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 S tier episodes in the
Yes.
first season. That's absolute
Yeah,
insanity.
yeah,
And nothing below a C yet. But I
yeah.
mean, let's see what the chat has to say.
Yeah.
Let's see. This next Willoughby one is an A. Okay, that's fair. Willoughby is great. I love push Williams. It's really good one. Sterling also often criticized the grind of the corporate
Mhm.
culture. That's right, and good catch, Anthony. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I love this one. I think it's great. But I was just saying that we haven't had anything below a C yet. Here, Anthony, in my opinion, we get to the worst episode of the first season for my money, and
Yeah,
I would say a bottom 10, bottom 15 episode of the whole show here.
but an interesting one to talk about for sure.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
and it's your turn, so please.
All right. So next up we have The Chaser. This one is starring let's see, George Grizzard, sorry if I'm
Yes.
saying that wrong, as Roger Shackelford. A young man obsessed with winning over an uninterested beauty gets more than he bargained for when he buys a love potion to gain her affection.
Love
That he
potion
does.
number 9.
Yes, that he does big time. She falls head over heels in love with him. Um, so I'll say this: this is another one that's at least gone up a little bit for me on rewatches because I've just accepted that it is what it is. It's a sort of dark comedy. I would say dark comedy because it goes to a bit of a dark place in the end here. And then you have the whole idea of just sort of this, like, you have a girl who doesn't really want anything to do with this guy. Maybe she's putting out some mixed signals. That's the most I'll give him. But overall, she doesn't really want anything to do with him. I mean, he's at the door trying to force his way in, and ultimately decides, a love potion will take care of that. It's a bit of a awkward setup, but we've seen this sort of idea before, right? The whole love potion. She falls in love with me, and he gets what more than he's bargained for. A couple of good points about this episode: the visuals. I really,
Yes.
really like. Let's see who directed this one. Let's see.
This was, I
Hey,
believe,
Douglas Hayes.
yeah.
Okay, Douglas Hayes. That makes sense. Okay, and okay. So there's a wonderful shot of the lead walking into the door, and he opens another door. I always like that. I used it in my intro a little bit. And then the library is excellent looking.
Yeah, like from the ground up. Beautiful.
Yeah, so all of that's good too. And then there's another actor, and I wish I knew his name, but the older man who gives him the potion is also
Dr. A. Demon. A. Demon.
okay, a little on the nose, but I'll
Yeah.
all right, Twilight Zone. I'll accept that if you if you say so. So he's really good. And then the actress, she's okay. And this is the same woman from oh geez, what's her name? See if I can find it.
I didn't recognize her. She was in another zone. That's interesting.
He was, yeah. Let me see if I can find her. I apologize. Wizard and well, she was in the episode with the genie.
Oh my God, with the guy in the office, the one
And
we talked.
yeah, and he also was, so a bit of kind of weird that she ended up in 2 Twilight Zones where there was a guy who was after her that
And they were both fucking horrible.
yeah, that she had no interest in, and ends up sort of getting, well, in one case she's getting stuck with him in a fantasy world, but here she's getting stuck with him because she's basically under a spell. Is there anything funny here for you in terms of
No,
just comedy?
actually, this is one that has aged like shit
Yeah.
because this just really doesn't fit now. Like, I don't even think it should have fit back then, but like,
I wonder
I
if
don't know,
it
like,
did.
okay, I think the opening scene is trying to be so funny with like they're online waiting for the payphone. And
Yeah.
I'm just sitting, I'm like, geez, like this is horrible. And then like I agree. I do think the only thing that saves this from being a failure is Douglas Hayes' direction.
Mhm.
If this had been any other director, I would probably lean towards this being an F because the story, the writing, it's just not up to par. I know this was the only episode of the first season that was not written by one of the big three, would being, Beaumont, Matheson, or Rod Serling. This was the only one that wasn't. So it, to me, sticks out like a sore thumb because of that. But Douglas Hayes' direction is great. Yeah, and like you mentioned, the library stuff, the stuff with the long shot of the door. That's definitely worth the price of admission if you're trying to watch an episode just for the look and the direction, cinematography. That stuff's on point. But the rest of it, man, I think it's just so bad. I've seen love stories, love potion stories done so much better. Shrek 2 is a movie that does this type of story way better.
Good point.
I don't know. Like I just don't like this one. I don't know if it's really the actors' faults. I don't think they do a bad job, but
no. Patricia Barry, I believe that was the woman's name too. Patricia Barry.
She, nothing to do with them. I don't think they have the issue here. I just think like, I don't know, just the story just doesn't age well. It doesn't look good now because it's like he's forcing her into this. Then we never get him enjoying it. It's just automatically, I'm sick of her.
Yeah.
And then at the twist at the end, oh, buy the $1,000 glove cleaner. And I'm pregnant. And he drops the glass. Oh, I would never have killed her. I was like, dude, this is not, I don't know if it's going for black humor, but it's just not funny to me.
That's the thing. Yeah, well, that was sort of the point where I kind of got, well, I wasn't too into it anyway, but yeah, that whole thing where this is supposed to be our lead. So I feel like at some level, he's supposed to be likable and we're supposed to relate to him. But then he decides, I've had enough. I guess I have to murder her. I think that I feel like he can figure out another way to get away from women without, I feel like murder. Really?
I would try to fake my own death before I fucking try to kill someone with glove cleaner. That's
but then even the idea that, okay, so now she's pregnant. Okay, well, what about all that stuff about fucking being miserable? Or you just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's think we're just one step past that. So now you're gonna stay with her because she has a baby. Do you suddenly love her madly? Like, what changed? So now she has a kid. Like, I know I'm putting too much reality on it when it's
no, I don't think so at all. I think you're right. I think in
analysis
a lot of ways, they're trying to say that, okay, he didn't do it because she has a baby, but like at the same time, I think if you're going with the dark humor, that would have been the way to been like, holy shit, just a really dark, like, oh, don't drink that. I didn't know you were pregnant. I'm sorry. And then end it like super dark. You could have done that. I would think the Alfred Hitchcock Presents, that show would have went there.
Yeah.
Whereas Twilight Zone was like, nah, this guy has to live with it forever. That's more of a Twilight Zone.
Upgrading sort of like, he's in a bad marriage. We get those all the time in Twilight Zone.
Yeah. It's like, it's worse to live with it forever. But I don't know. I would say this is, if it wasn't for the direction, this would be an F. I'm going to give this a D.
I'm about on the same page. I had like if I had to be kind, I would do a C plus, but I'm okay with a D on this one, man.
Yeah, I am too.
I like the little heart effect at the end. I'll give it a little bit of credit. I like that heart effect. He blows some smoke. and it turns into a heart or something like that. I like that. That was a cool little
Yeah,
effect.
no, it's
Yeah.
not like, listen, even the worst of the Twilight Zone might be better than some of the other shows' best.
Mhm.
Like that's how good this show is. Like that's from the quality standpoint. But I mean, of a great first season, there has to be a best. There has to be a worst. For me, The Chaser is the worst. I don't think. I really. I mean,
I
I'll
think
take a look
so.
at the C category.
Looking at the list here.
16 millimeter
Well,
Shrine, Long Live Walter Jameson, and Judgment Night are all better than this episode to me.
we have another one coming up. I'm not sure how you feel about it, but we'll see.
Oh, I know that one's hated.
Yeah.
I would say the rest of these I don't have any real strong hate.
Okay. All
I
right.
actually
Let's see.
quite like a few of these, but I know
Yeah.
two of these in particular a lot of people hate. So it is what it is. Let's see. Steele said sea level for this one. Tales from the Crypt did their own version with Andrew McCarthy, awesome actor, and Merrill Hemingway called Love to Death. I'm
Yeah.
sure that was better than this. The library stuff is awesome. Yes, it was. But I think it's my turn. Okay, here's one that I really like. Season 1, episode 32. This is A Passage for Trumpet. A suicidally despondent trumpet player finds himself in a bizarre world where he seems to be invisible to everyone except for the one helpful other musician. Of course, this is the introduction of Jack Klugman being in the Twilight Zone, who, other than Burgess Meredith, was the lead of 4 separate episodes. I believe he's the only other one aside from Burgess to get 4 leads. And I like this one. This is definitely one of the better ones. I would say I'd put this above Death Ship. It would be on the same level as Pip, and then Game of Pool would be my top. But
Yeah.
I really like this one. This is sort of like It's a Wonderful Life story. The next two, this one and the next one, are basically It's a Wonderful Life in the Twilight Zone. He's this down as luck trumpet player with a lot of personal problems with alcoholism. He tries to off himself, and then when he wakes up, he's in limbo, and no one will talk to him until he meets this other musician that may or may not have this sort of biblical tie. What did you think of this one? Because I thought this one was quite sweet upon rewatching, and I really like it.
This is an easy A for me. I really like this one. There's no bad Jack Klugman episodes. This
There
guy
isn't.
freaking nailed it, and I really like Jack Klugman as a
Me
lead.
too.
I have to say that, man. This guy he was wonderful. It makes you want to check out some of his other work. I mainly know him from Odd Couple, which was on in reruns when I was
I have the whole collection there. I love it.
Oh, okay, nice. Coming up next, a stream on the Odd Couple. But yeah, I this is just, it was like a really nice. There was just a very interesting story. I like where it goes. I like also, let's see, what was the other actor's name who ends up playing the Passage for Trumpet?
He was also in Old Man in the Cave.
No. Oh no, John Anderson as Gabe. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry, he was in what?
He was in Old Man in the Cave.
Okay. That's another. I have to rewatch that one. So I like that again, we see a lot of the themes are being revisited, and where we have alcoholism, we have a person who's suicidal. Twilight Zone goes back to a lot of the stuff, but manages to present it in a whole new and fresh way, and give us a lead like Jack Klugman, who can just take us to like some great fun and interesting places. I like the little segment of this. It reminded me a bit of Ghost from Patrick Swayze, with Patrick Swayze.
Oh my God, imagine.
Where it's like, hey, nobody recognized me, or you don't see me, or whatever. So we go through a little bit of that, and then we have the slow realization that he's gone. I thought all of that stuff was handled pretty nicely. He does it. We have a little reflection moment where he looks, and I believe he doesn't see himself reflected in the mirror around the movie theater. Yes. So all of that stuff was good. But then we get into the meat of the story, the heart of the story, where we deal with his alcoholism and him, like, sort of being just so down and out, and how can he have another chance in a different Twilight Zone? He might not get another chance. He might be stuck in limbo, or I like that he gets a second chance here. I think the episode totally works him. I love that he gets a second chance. I feel like he deserves a second chance, and I'm glad that he didn't get railed on this end from the Twilight Zone.
Completely agree. I think this one is just beautiful. I love the sentiment. I think Jack Klugman does a really good job, because, okay, is he a guy that lived without mistakes? No, but you also do feel really bad for the character. He's a likable guy that does love to play the trumpet, and he does love all these things, and he is very easy to root for. And I think that this episode really portrays him in a nice light like that. And I love, as opposed to the Long Live Walter Jameson, that conversation with the chest, this, to me, the conversation between he and Gabe, I thought was just beautiful. I love that conversation between the two men.
Yeah.
I thought this absolutely made the episode. And I love as he's walking away, hey, what's your name? I never got your name. And he turns, and it's all like the halo is above him. It's the light.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I thought that was. I
Really
mean,
is.
I know I'm sure there are cynics that would be like, "Fuck this, it's so
Mm.
stupid." But I ate it. I was like, "Okay, comfort food." Like I loved that. I thought that was cute. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I thought that was really nice.
Then I'm crazy right along with you because I'm right there. I thought it all pretty much worked. Look, we get grim episodes here. We get episodes that take us to fucking horrible places. Willoughby, like we were just talking about, takes us to some grim places. What's wrong with having some episodes that maybe can raise your spirits or have a glimmer of hope? I think we need that, and I think this episode delivers.
Yeah, it's in a lot of ways. This is the more happy ending of
Yeah.
like it's like okay, he got to live in the real life, and he get the idea at the end. He meets a woman in his apartment that he might be going out on a date with. He's telling, "Oh, have you
Yeah.
gone here?" And funny enough, she was in another Jack Klugman episode, Death Ship, as
Mhm.
one of the other
Yes.
guys' like wives from the past.
Okay.
And he comes in and breaks it up. He's like, "Stop talking to her." And I was always like, "I'm now that I know it." I'm like in my brain, I'm like, "Oh my god!" He's like, "Stop talking to my woman from Passes for Trump." God damn it. I like this one a lot. I'm gonna say a
Yeah.
strong A for me.
Yeah. But I mean, I could be talked into an S for this one. So yeah, if you're happy with an A, I'm good with that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think A for now. I think that's a good A episode. It's I would say like okay of the Klugman ones, it's definitely one of the best. I would
Mhm.
say this and Pip are like tied in an A, and I would say Game of Pool is definitely an S.
Yeah.
But I like all the Klugman ones as well. I see that John Steele says the same thing. A level tier, so he's right with us. I like all the eps he's in. Absolutely. Grande Italian Goodfellas in the house. Welcome, my friend. Hope all's well with you. All right, only a handful more of these. Anthony, it's your turn. I know this one's kind of hated, so I'm curious to hear. I wonder if we're going to get a little bit of ranting right now, but let's hear
Oh, let's see. Well, Mr. Beavis is the episode. This one
it,
stars Orson. Orson Bean as James B.W. Beavis. All right. After losing his job, his car, and his apartment all on the same day, an eccentric loser gets a new lease on life from his guardian angel. But there is a price for keeping it. Oh, and his boss's name, Mr. Peckinpah, which is just an awesome
another. It's a Wonderful Life nod because that's the Sam
Peckinpah.
Peckinpah.
Peckinpah. I mean, it's not a good one. It's not a good one. I'll say that, but it's not. It's another one I'll put in a category of like, you know what? On a rewatch, I don't hate it. I like some of the performances. I love that in his office, he's such a weirdo. The description uses the word eccentric. That's absolutely perfect because he has like all kinds. His desk is like a disaster area, but it makes for an interesting, quirky character. This episode doesn't really work overall. I think it was like a backdoor pilot. Is that what the trivia is on this?
Yes,
It's obviously very similar to Cavender is Coming. It's another guardian angel story. I'm gonna fix your life. Your life is broken. I'm gonna help you, and it doesn't quite help. And I don't know. I don't know. It's just. I think I was like on a D for this one, but I can't say I hate it. I feel like its heart is sort of in the right place. Does that make sense?
yeah. It's your typical like It's a Wonderful Life story
Yeah.
where he's and this is the change on it is where he is a loser. Like
Mhm.
he likes zither music. He has stuffed squirrels on his desk. He slides down the stairwell every morning and
Which
falls
looked like it really hurt. That really looked like it hurt.
Yes, it did.
Jeez.
He's friendly with the guy in the neighborhood who gives him a free food. All
Yeah.
the kids love him. He throws the football to them. He's got the shitty car. He's got
Yeah.
a shitty job. He's late. He gets fired all the time. Like it's one of those. He's a loser, but like he has a good heart. And it's basically It's a Wonderful Life, even though you were a loser, because when you're a winner, you don't have to have the same heart. I mean, okay, it's very played out. It's
Mm.
very overdone. It's not the greatest thing ever. I never hated this one though. Like I know people
Mm.
will say this is in the conversation of the worst episode that ever aired. I don't think that at all. I
Mm.
would not say that. I think Cavender Coming is way worse than this. Like that has a laugh track in it. I do know. Fun fact: this was originally they wanted Burgess Meredith to do this one as well,
Yeah, I
and
saw that.
they changed Bemis, which was the character's name in Time Enough at Last, to Beavis. And of course they got the guy who directed I Love Lucy. Most of the I Love Lucy episodes directs this. It's his only credit for the series because they were really going for a backdoor pilot,
Yeah.
sitcom type of thing like I Love Lucy. And you could tell it's definitely trying to be funny like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I don't hate it. I feel like there's comedy episodes that they did way worse with.
Mhm.
I would say it's like a B minus.
Okay.
So what would that, like a
I don't
C?
know. Yeah, I'd say so. That sounds about
It's
that sounds
better than I would watch it 5 times before I watched The Chaser again. I thought Chaser was just boring.
yeah, and there's some legit fun little moments in there. Yeah.
I thought the actor was, but yeah, it's hated.
Acting
It's
was
trust me,
fine.
it's not a popular one, and I don't love it by any means. It's not good, but it's not. I guess my point is, it's not the worst thing ever either. So
No.
I'm with John Steele. Yeah, C. We'll go right with a C. I would say B. You said D, so we'll meet in the middle of a C. I think that's fair. So we got 3 left here, and oh boy, if I mean. This next one to me has got to be in conversation for the best of the season as well. And of course, this is season 1, episode 34. This is the After Hours. A woman is treated badly by some odd salesperson, but on an otherwise empty department store floor, she encounters some very mysterious things. Yes, the After Hours. Now, I know that you have the cool graphic novel that you want to show, so please show
Oh,
that
let's see
for
if I
us.
can find
That is
it.
pretty
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah. Here we go. This is kind of a good fun buy here. This is the graphic novel. Let's see. Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone, The After Hours. This one has, for those who are interested, I do highly recommend it. It has some little extended moments that expand upon maybe some of the points in the episode that people may have wondered about. But I'll let you talk first about this one, man. What are your thoughts on this one?
I've always loved this one, and I think upon every time I rewatch it, it reminds me why I love this show.
Yeah.
Like there are episodes that are good, there are episodes that are great, but then there are episodes that remind me why I love this show. I think this show is just absolutely fantastic, and this episode's horror is done so well. I mean, it stars Anne Francis, who I just love as
Yeah.
this woman. I'm looking for a gold thimble, and she goes and she's in this department store, and of course Douglas Hayes nails it as the director. I think he does so many wonderful horror sequences, and I just think this one is just so creepy. How they played out this entire shopping center as this place where all of a sudden a shopping center felt unsettling, and
Yes.
all of the mannequins that weren't moving or anything, but you hear them saying, Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. Just to me, one of the best horror-filled episodes of this show, man. And it scared the shit out of me as a kid, and to this day, it scares the shit out of me. But what do you think of this one, man?
I love it. Easy S tier. It's so memorable. The dummies, or the mannequins, I should say. They just look so they're disturbing. They're just frightening. They're terrifying. And I love the voices. I love that. I guess there's a little bit of ambiguity, especially on a first time watch. We have some ambiguity. Is she going crazy or not? I guess that's always a part of these episodes, right? Like, is the person going crazy or not, or is the strange phenomenon really happening? I like where the episode ultimately goes. Hey, I want to, you know what? Now's a good time. This episode has some humor in it, which sort of used to bother me, but now it plays okay. But there's some lighter moments in here. What's your thoughts on some of the lighter moments? Meaning, like with the store manager and stuff. It almost
Yeah,
feels like it's out of a comedy episode. Felt a little out of place for me initially. Now I'm fine with it, which is weird. I guess it's grown on me or whatever.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, you're right. It is out of place, but I don't know
Mhm.
if it just maybe because everything else was just going and clicking on every single cylinder that
Yeah.
I just always kind of overlooked it.
Mhm.
I do think it's fun, like the manager at the end where he looks and he thinks that he's like, "Wait a minute, like I've seen you." Like I thought that was funny, but I don't know. I think just overall, it
Yeah.
just the motion that this captured is
Yeah.
just so good. Like it's
That's
just
the thing. Yeah. Any like nitpicks are just like, yo, there's so much awesome stuff happening here that I'm not gonna sweat any of the little points.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
it's
like the whole idea that the closing narration where Rod Serling is like this. It makes you wonder, who you nod your hellos to. So here, I can read it. Miss Marcia White on the 9th floor, specialties department, looking for a gold thimble. The odds are that she'll find it, but the odds are even better. She'll find something. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading the. I'm reading the intro. Sorry.
well, they're both. It's all good. It's Rod Serling.
Sorry, Marcia White, in her normal and natural state, a wooden lady with a painted face, who 1 month out of the year takes on the characteristics of someone as normal and flesh as blood as you and I. But it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Just how normal are we? Just who are the people we nod our hellos to as we pass on the street? A rather good question to ask in the Twilight Zone. Like, I love that. To me, that's so. It makes me think, like, who are the people I nod my hellos to? Are any of these people just a mannequin for a month? I mean, it could be. Well, who's to say? I don't know their lives. They don't know mine. Who
It's
knows?
such a creepy thought, but yet you're like, well, you can't say that it's not happening.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, I think it's just so damn good. Like I love everything about this episode. I think that Aunt Frances does a really good job. And
Yeah.
I never saw this coming. Like I don't know about you, but
Oh
like
no,
I never saw this shit coming.
it's always tough to remember my first time watching this, but no, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say no, I did not see it coming, and I'm sure that I was I know for sure I was completely creeped out by all of the voices and the mannequins. It's and to this day it still holds up. It's still creepy as heck. And yeah, and like you said, I love that it leaves us off with that whole idea of maybe making us even question ourselves. Am I a mannequin? Did I just sort of wander off and manufacture a life? Who's to say?
Yeah, I thought this was a cool idea. Like this was such
Yeah.
a fun one. Like I was just like what a cool idea to have. Okay, every month it gets somebody else's turn in the department to like live a real life. And I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool, man. To me, that's like why I love this show. Again, not really a big moral lesson to be had here. This is just
Mm,
straight up entertaining horror 101. And I just think it's so well done and directed by Douglas Hayes. And I thought the story was just so creative. I from top to bottom love this one, man. I would say a slam dunk S tier.
yep. Easy S tier. Yeah. And another easy one, right? I'd
Yes,
say
that one's definitely easy, and to me, in conversation for sure for best episode of the first season, and one of the best of the entire series. I definitely think this is a great one, and one that everyone should seek out. Anyone
absolutely.
else get Truman Show vibes from Beavis? I did from A World of Difference. Did you get
Yeah.
Truman Show
Definitely.
vibes from Beavis?
From Beavis. No, like I said, but from the other one, let's see, from Beavis. I'm not too sure about that. Well, maybe on a rewatch I'll look for it, but not too sure about that one.
Not looking to rewatch Beavis anytime soon. I think this episode was the inspiration for the 80s. Yes, it definitely was. And I know he was telling me that this was remade in the 80s Twilight Zone, which
Yeah,
I'd love
yeah,
to
yeah.
see.
Yeah. Well, 80s Twilight Zone, maybe hit and miss for some people. Again, I'll say like I like it overall, and there's some really killer episodes in there. I did like the remake of this one. I recommend checking it out. Well, yeah, we'll see. I'm curious if anybody else has seen the remake.
I've got to
We'll,
check
we'll
that
see.
out, man. I really want to check out the graphic novel too. S
Yes.
tier for the mannequin, completely agree. Anything with creepy mannequins like this, Tourist Trap, yeah, no, and it's done really well.
Yeah, yeah.
Tourist Trap rules. What's up, brother? Dr. Howdy 666. We've had him on for a Twilight Zone show. What's up, brother? Just got off work, had to jump in. Twilight Zone for life. Hell yeah, man. Greatest show ever. Ingor and Dr. Howdy saying hi to one another. All right, buddy. 2 more to go. What do you got for us? This is a hated one.
Okay, so let's see. The Mighty Casey. Yes, Mighty Casey is our next episode. This one does star Jack Warden. So
Yeah.
I'll give it that. Right off the bat, I do like Jack Warden. He was in 2 episodes. All right, let's get down to it. A down and out baseball team's fortunes are lifted by a mysterious but seemingly unbeatable young player, who's a robot, I believe is what it's only. Was it robot? Robot?
Robot. And it's funny, the other episode he's in, he's falling in love with a robot.
With the role. Yeah.
And
Maybe
this one, he's coaching a robot, which I don't know, is kind of funny. What do you think of this one, man? Does this one deserve the ultra hate that it gets? Do you hate this one too?
No. Is it worth to hate? Okay, so let me start with like my initial viewings of this year's back. Like if it popped up on a marathon, where I immediately got off with this episode, like meaning like where I should say where I was like, I'm not watching this. It's not for me. Was right up front. I believe it starts kind of interesting. And then we get the baseball player, and then we get this is it a wood whistle? I don't know what the sound is. It's an old school comedy sound where he's throwing the curveballs and he's throwing the slow ball, and it's like, and I'm like, nope, I'm out. I can't. Now, that said, I've matured now, as you can see from the wings. But I'm still not a big I'm still not a big fan of it, but I'm fine with some of the goofy comedy. Overall, it doesn't quite work for me. I don't get the hate. I don't know. I feel like it's another one with its heart sort of in the right place, but it kind of just meanders along, and there's some good stuff here. I actually like the guy who plays the baseball player, robot. I think he does pretty well here. I'm a sucker for robot stories. I feel like there's maybe a better version of this story. I know we both know about the trivia for this one. We can go into that
Yeah,
too.
we can go into that for sure. Of course, this was initially going to be played by Paul Douglas, who was in Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah.
And of course, he was known for being an alcoholic in real life. And of course, they filmed this, wrapped it. The day after they wrapped it, Paul Douglas dies of a heart attack. And Rod Serling had been complaining throughout the entire production that, he was coming to the set very pale and lifeless and motionless. And, he was really dying before their eyes. They just didn't know. And then, of course, he drops dead. And, Rod Serling was like, we can't air this. So he went to CBS, said, hey, we got to reshoot this. You got to give me the money to reshoot this. And CBS said, no. And Rod Serling dipped into his pocket for 27 grand in 1959 is when this was being shot. So dipped 27 grand into his pocket, which is no small chunk of change now, and it's even bigger chunk of change then. Dipped into his pocket. They reshot it with, of course, Jack Warden playing the lead with a different director. So they had two different directors. I think this is one of the only zones with two directors, because some of the stuff they kept in, they had to credit the other director.
Yeah.
I never hated this. I really don't. I think it's kind of funny. Like, I don't know. This is one I find kind of funny, like with the whole, like, he's the best. I see you. It's the best pitcher I ever caught. And they say, okay, it has to be 9 men. He has to have a heart. He goes, why does he have to have a heart? So-and-so doesn't have a heart. He owns 40% of the club. I thought that was funny.
That's a good. And even just Jack Warden is perfect here. He really is. He's if there's a reason to watch it, it's him.
Yes, I think he does a good job as the down his luck manager. I see here, John Steele says the Hoboken Zephyrs. Yes, that's right. There were 20 games out of 4th. I thought that was funny. I don't know. Maybe the Mets fan in me liked this episode and was like, oh, sure, that they finally get a robot and it needs a heart. And okay, he doesn't realize that you can strike people out. I didn't have the heart in myself to let those guys get a hit. The ending is quite stupid. But I do like the whole idea that there's a rumor that they went west and won a bunch of championships, and they get the idea that they built robots and put them out west. I thought that was cute. I don't know, this one, the production history behind it is crazy. I know Rod Serling hated it. I know this is one of the most hated episodes. I think Buck Houghton said this and Beavis were the worst episodes of the first season. So I know a lot of people feel that way. I don't mind this one. I would probably say it's a B. But where would you come in with this?
I guess, well, I had it as a D, so I guess we're going to land on like a C for this one.
Yeah, another C. So
yeah. I think, and I think this, I know you're much more of a sports guy and a baseball guy than me, so I almost wonder too, maybe in general, if it maybe plays a bit better, if you're like a sports fan, and I don't know, that may help it,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it honestly could just because I don't know. Maybe it's just so stupid that I like it. I can't. I really can't. Like I was sitting here laughing at it. I'm like, this is so dumb.
If you like it, you like it. It's harmless. That's for sure. There's nothing in here.
It is. It's totally harmless. I would say that for sure. But Steel goes C-. Okay. The Weaker Man as Robots episode. Steel is way better.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Lee Marvin is fantastic in that episode. That's way better. I would agree. I would even say The Lonely is a much better episode with a robot and Jack Warden than this. But
Well, I'm a fan of Lonely anyway, so that's an easy
Lonely is really good. Where did we have here's a good question. Where the hell did we have The Lonely? Did The Lonely make it as it did. The Lonely made it as an S tier when we were last time.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It does make sense. Yeah, no, that's that's a lot better than this. I will definitely say that with no shame here. But all right, buddy, we're on it. Season finale of season 1. This was season 1, episode number 36. This is A World of His Own. A writer demonstrates he can control reality simply by dictating changes. Yes, A World of His Own. Fun fact. This actor, the lead actor, his dad is Ed Wynn, who was in One for the Angels, one of the first episodes of the series. And then his son ends up being in the season 1 finale. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I like this one. I think this one had a fun imagination. Her name is Mary. I liked that. And there's an elephant in the hall. And I thought this was so much fun for imagination and creativity. I thought it was funny where it had to be. I thought the creativity was definitely on full display. I like this one, man. But what did you think?
I'm about the same. And then there's a moment I guess we'll get to, again, spoiler alert, where like even if you had this episode at like a B, the ending just knocks it right up because of the cameo. I absolutely love the cameo at the end. I mean, that's one of the more memorable moments in the whole series. When Rod Serling shows up and interacts with the characters. Oh my God, it's freaking awesome. But overall, the whole story, everything's pretty much working for me. The comedy, despite being, I guess, dated, it's all pretty much working. It's cute. It's all, again, kind of harmless, and it's mostly working for me. What about for you? Like, what about just the comedy elements?
I thought it was funny. I thought the lady playing his wife, or I guess she thinks she is till the end. I thought her facial expressions were funny.
Yeah,
Like she was just
yeah,
like, this fucking bitch. She's like, where is she? Like she totally not buying what he's saying. And then it's like she thinks he's bluffing at the end, and she destroys herself. And it's her name is Victoria. Her name is Mary. I thought that was great. I don't know. I thought this was quite funny. I don't know. Maybe this is just one where I thought it was funny and it was imaginative. Like it was definitely a horse of a different color. Twilight Zone didn't do a lot of funny, imaginative ones. Like a lot of ones where it tried humor, it failed. Like I never liked Once Upon a Time with oh my god, what the hell was his name? Buster Keaton. I didn't like that. Like there's a few comedy ones that just don't work for me, but this one I thought worked. I thought this was funny. I thought it had imagination. And of course, yeah, you're right. The cameo at the end is the reason to remember it. And that really kicks us off into season 2 because, Rod Serling, that was the first time you saw him on screen on Apple's actual show. The other ones were just voiceovers, and then he would show up after the show to be like next week on the Twilight Zone. And this was the first time you saw him on screen. And Rod, we're going to throw this out, and throws it away. That's the way it goes. And he disappears. That's the way it goes. Yeah. I thought that was great. I was like, what a fun way to end a season. Like if the studio said, we're not renewing you, what a fun legacy that you would have left if that was the last thing we saw of the Twilight.
Yeah. Thank God that wasn't, but still. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a overall fun, solid episode. Not a lot of complaints about this one. You know what I did notice upon a rewatch was like the whole episode, it really is just in that little house. That's the whole thing. I did notice that. I'm like, okay, I almost wonder. And then you think back to like Elegy, where we're all over the place with this giant cast of frozen people, and then here we are just in a house. But it doesn't matter because if the story works, the story works. We don't need a giant, massive cast and multiple settings. So we just have this. It's a little house and it works, or it's a decent looking house, I should say, and it works. And an elephant. We got an elephant. That must have.
Yes, that was. I was like shocked. Was like,
a real elephant.
Yeah,
that was. This show gave us an elephant, a lion. Trying to think what else we got in this episode. Some kind of a cougar in one of the episodes too. We got some animals in Twilight Zone.
Yeah. The jungle has the big cougar at the end. That's right.
Yeah.
No, man. I thought it worked. I would say like a solid BB plus.
Yeah, I'm about with you on that one. Yeah, that's what I had here too. Yeah, BB plus.
Okay, so yeah, that's we have everything ranked here. Let me read the couple Steele comments. Steele says B minus. Okay. Keenan Wynn as the voice of Rankin Bass Xmas cartoon in one of the Herbie films. Cool. All right, so before we wrap this up, Anthony, let's take a look at this list. This is the Twilight Zone season 1 ranked officially. We had one episode that was less than a C. Everything else is a C or better. So that's incredible. Yeah. But let me ask, if you had to give me a top 5 from the first season, and that S column, man, give me your top 5.
Ooh, okay, let's see. Wow, there's a lot going on here. Let's see. So we have one for the Angels. Walking distance. That's one. Time Enough at Last. Sort of it's mandatory for that to be in there. Hitchhiker. I think the After Hours and Stop at Willoughby.
That's an awesome. I would say I'm going to go.
That's tough though, man, because I see others and I'm like, oh no, but this. All right. I'll go with those.
It's like picking your favorite kid. It's so hard.
It really is. It really is.
So, I mean, what do you have here? 13 episodes in an S tier? That's insanity out of 36. That you have 13 perfect ones. I would say The Hitchhiker probably my number 1. Then I'd go probably A Nice Place to Visit. I love that one.
Oh, that's true. True. Yeah.
After Hours would be there. Wow, this is tough. Willoughby 4, and then probably Mirror Image at 5. I think that's a
I'm glad one of us got that in there.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of those. And even the A tier, I mean, so many of these are fantastic episodes. Like Elegy would be a huge, like to me, like one that I recommend to people because it's just so underseen and under talked about. But I really enjoy that one as well. We got right before the end here.
Hey, Wes.
Lord. Good brother Wes, man. Hope all's well with you, man. Hope you had a merry freaking Christmas and a happier New Year. But Anthony, man, we've been going at this almost over 2.5 hours. Wow, the time flies, man. But
Yeah.
dude, I gotta say, I've had a lot of guests on this show, but man, I always have a pleasure talking with you, and especially with the zones, man. It's just always a pleasure to stroll down memory lane and talk about this show, our favorite show. So thank you so much for making the time for me tonight. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for having me. I totally appreciate it. Thank you to everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome. I hope we'll come up with an excuse to talk about Twilight Zone again. Don't worry about it.
Maybe one of these days we'll do Twilight Zone the movie on your channel or something.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
that sounds good too. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that would be something else. But yeah, no, everybody, thank you so much for staying and watching. This was a lot of fun. If you guys catch the replay, let us know down below your top 5 of season 1. This is a lot of fun. Next week, we'll be live with this guy, Mr. Matteo Appendino, Ciao Grande, as we rank 25 Jolly. So we're going to be doing some more rankings this next episode. Super looking forward to that. Having Mateo on, John Steele only, and Cooper only on the graveyard. Hell yeah, we gotta love that. Hey, Grande and Anthony. But yeah, no, man, thank you so much, and everybody check out Anthony's channel if you haven't already. Great people, and everybody have a safe, happy, healthy weekend. Enjoy the last weekend of the year. Happy New Year, everybody. Too sweet peace, and we will catch you next time. Only on the graveyard. Good night, everybody. Cheers from the Twilight Zone.